We're live now because this is how we roll. Because I have it at 9:30. You were in the military, Ryan, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What did 9:35 mean?
That meant if you weren't there at 9:25, you were
25.
late.
Right, you were late. Right. Yeah, and we got some long-haired dope over at Reed. He'll mail in. Interestingly enough, we also have a current active military member who's going to roll in later. One of these days they'll get here. I'm here with Ryan Stone, Contrarian Ryan, and a hungover John Fitch who stayed out till 2 a.m.
My video feed is representative of how I feel. Fuzzy.
I've never seen you like. Usually, you're like, "Hey, what's it? You're stroking your beard." You know, you're really hungover when you ain't grooming. You're stroking your beard, man, or your mustache.
Yeah. Over it. Just let it get my mouth and shit.
Oh God! What did you have to? Did you? They're down in San Diego, right?
Mm-hmm. Whale's vagina.
Okay, and where did you drive from?
I flew in from San Jose. So it was about an hour and 20-minute flight.
Okay, San Jose is what? San Fran? Suburb
about 45 minutes. About 45-minute drive south. The Bay Area is it's like a triangle with a body of water in it. You have San Francisco, Oakland, and San Jose. Okay. We're at the bottom of the triangle.
You're at the bottom of the triangle. All right. Well, you look like shit, so I'm glad that you could join us.
Awesome.
What I wanted to get more people on, but you know they'll roll in when they feel like it. Have you guys ever heard of the book "Women Don't Owe You Pretty"? Have you guys heard of that?
No.
So
nice title though.
It is, dude.
Sounds like a fun read.
Oh God, it isn't. But it's interesting. For you guys heard of my Operation Evil? No. Okay, so I have Operation Evil coming up, and I started it. And basically, instead of selling the truth, is what we do here. I have several physical products and services that I'm going to sell that are lies. It's Operation Evil because I'm sick and tired of trying to sell people broccoli when all they want is ice cream and butter and cake. And I'm being called a Nazi or a fascist because I try and tell people facts. So part of Operation Evil, obviously, is to target women. And I thought that I'd be, that there was some kind of algorithm or something else to figure out in terms of marketing. In other words, I didn't want to just approach women. One of the products I'm going to sell to women, it's targeted towards women. And I just didn't want to walk in, oh, woman, am I right? They believe lies and shit. So I thought there was something more complicated. So I wasted my time consuming like the top 5 best-selling books for women, the Sheryl Sandberg book, the Women Don't Owe You Pretty. Hey, welcome aboard here. Sammy Hagar.
50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah. No, I didn't read that one. These were more the philosophical ones. I know, girls want the rich billionaire to have sex with them. But one of them was Women Don't Owe You Pretty. And what I found it's similar with all these books is that women really hate it, or at least they say they really hate it, when all you want out of them is sex and you do not, or their physical beauty, you value them for their physical beauty, their youth, and fertility. And meanwhile, but I have all this other stuff going on. It goes beyond, well, I have a career and this, and these are top selling books. Sheryl Sandberg's book, I forget the name of it, Girl Don't Owe You Pretty, all these other ones. But one of the common themes was that they are their own individual. They have their own taste preferences, and that you should like them for that. And the title itself kind of says it, where it's like, we don't owe you pretty, which I understand you don't owe men sex, you don't owe men beauty and all that. But I found this very interesting because this is not just in these books, but you can see I've had a handful of interactions. I did a video one time asking, why don't women like being women? And the response is all these forays I'm making into the world of women. It seems pretty universal that these girls want men to like them for their non-physical traits. Like we're taking sexuality and physicality out of it, and we're focusing on personality, everything that is not their physique. And probably maybe as we get older, for people our age, maybe a little bit older, it's less of an issue. But this is, I think, a big wall or hurdle that pretty much every younger man or any man interested in dating a girl under 40 is definitely going to face. And I figure what we want to do here with this fine, distinguished group of gentlemen in Rollo is unpack this, take a look at it, provide our 2 cents worth of strategy for any younger man on how to kind of navigate this, and provide ourselves, our audience, a little bit of value in that way. And so that's kind of why I brought you gentlemen on board. So let's go through the panel very quickly. We have Ryan Stone. Ryan.
You want to hear my thoughts on this? Because I'm going to blow your fucking mind, man.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
This boils down to 2 issues. Daddy issues and solipsism. And there's your clickbait title. Daddy issues, solipsistic chicks. What's the thing you did for the thumb? Like, that's the one Rollo gets it all the clicks. You put that as your thumbnail for this, Cappy. The girls don't owe you pretty. They don't owe you sex. They don't owe you. Owing is like a weird way of describing it. So there was an old Married Red Pill post called, your father, a girl's father, is the only man in her life that values her for a reason other than sex. And this is where the daddy issue thing comes in. Generally speaking, when guys say they want a healthy relationship with their father and the daughter thing, is because dad doesn't just want to sleep with her. Guys all want to sleep with her, so they'll act in a way to get her sex, right? But dad doesn't want that. So she learns to, like, if I behave a certain way, if dad, gives me validation, it's not for sex. So you learn, like, what does that work? If you act bratty and he starts, he gets very disappointed in you, you stop acting bratty, he acts nicer, or, whatever it is, doesn't really matter. But the point is, that's where, like, that healthy femininity, because, Rollo has that article. I mean, we've talked about it a lot. The only, if I misquote it, Rollo, fix me on this, but the only agency a woman has is her sexuality, right? That's kind of the byproduct of this. So if you
Rollo,
don't have
you're
a
not
healthy...
coming in. We can't hear you.
Oh.
And Paul,
Right,
I have you muted because I can hear a tornado in your background.
So here's the thing. So you get a girl that maybe hasn't had those, skills developed from when she was young. What does it look like from her brother, from her father? What do you have to offer other than your sexuality? Basically, beating out the hypergamy there. And that's what the helpful family unit thing is there. And that's kind of gone now. At least half the chicks are like that. So when she says, like, I don't owe you pretty, or I'm not obligated for sex, it's not actually looking at it from his perspective. It's a solipsistic thing. Because again, another quote from anything Red Pill is the girls are inherently solipsistic. Like, their ego and everything else doesn't exist, simply put. So when she's saying there's, like, I'm not obligated to give you pretty, she's thinking about it that way. That's what's in her feelings. And she's just expressing her feelings and projecting them onto other people. That's why it's his fault. So here's why that matters. Well, I don't owe you sex, right? All that's telling you is that she's thinking that you're being nice and she's maybe attracted to you and you guys are having fun. And she's like, so what do I contribute to this? And because she doesn't have those healthy mental models of how to be good and valuable other than sex, she thinks that's all she has to offer. So anytime you're nice to her, she's thinking, and she feels bad about that because she wants to be known for something else. It's like an insecurity. That's the daddy issues. That's when I jokingly say they want to buy the pony. So, but it can't be her fault that in her mind, the only thing she offers is sex. So it has to be your fault. Girls are very good about that. And yeah, so that's the problem. Because they have not had a good male figure to show them non-sexual ways to express value in a relationship. They have this deep-seated insecurity that that's all they have to offer. And especially when they're getting older and they're starting to lose it. That's like telling a guy you're about to run out of money. You're going to be broke in 2 years and there's nothing you can do about it. You'd be pretty fucking bitter about it, right? So when you read these things, it's not a critique of modern whatever. It's a giant coping strategy for a girl that's aging out of the only thing she knows how to use that's valuable in her life. But did I blow your mind or no?
Well, you kind of did, but here's, and I'm not saying, because keep in mind, we are painting with a broad brush here.
Very broad.
Whatever, 120 million American women that are adults or whatever. But the woman, the old girl that wrote it when she was 20 years old or had someone ghostwrite it for her. And the evidence I've seen is that there's a lot of young gals. Now, you do a deep dive into the relationship with the dad and a long-term strategy. And I'm not disagreeing with you, but boy, that sounds like a lot of mental gymnastics. And you really gotta put
it's a heuristic, honestly. And I agree with you. I'm not here to argue whether it's true or not. There's no way to prove it. If you move forward as a guy, acting as if this is the case, adopting this as a mental model, you'll get better outcomes. So is it true? I couldn't say for certain, but is it useful? Absolutely.
Right.
And
I've
got tons of episodes where I've showed like examples where guys adopt that and then they realize it and it works out well. So I will preface it with the the proper disclaimer. Is it accurate? No. Is it useful? Yes.
Rollo, you're going to say something? Is Rollo there? Can Rollo hear us?
Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute.
There. All right. There. Okay.
Sorry, I have been doing audio recording for this week, and I had to switch all my audio back over to the board over here. I'm gonna bake your noodle a little bit here because this is gonna be interesting. And the reason I really wanted to do this show with you, Cappy, is because I've been reading
the thumbnail.
Well, the thumbnail, of course, is like from the finger of God himself. So let's be honest here. You know what, Cappy? I was thinking about that last night. You know what you really need to do is get rid of all this minimalism crap and all of these books. You know, stop writing and do a course on thumbnail creation, because that is where your true talent is, my friend.
Thank you.
So I was just going to say is I was really enthusiastic about doing this topic because I had a book suggested to me that I have just kind of done a deep dive into. I'm not all the way through it, but I got far enough into it that I think it is relevant to today's conversation. And as odd as this is going to sound, it's also relevant to sort of red pill intersexual dynamics conversation. It's a book called Debt. It is by Debt, the first 5,000 years, and it's by David Graeber. I don't know if you're familiar with this author. Probably not, because he is actually an anthropologist, but he is in this book anyways, he's studying the concept of debt. And we had no real concept of like what debt was prior to us having like a currency. Like, so we had like monetization of things. We commercialized things.
Something you could actually physically lend out.
And a lot of when we started looking at money in a sort of a tangible sense, it wasn't until after agriculture. So it's like, I will give you, four cows for this. And you have this sort of, back and forth, like you owe me this amount for whatever, the exchange, idea anyways. And so he gets into this, and I thought it was interesting because I think it has like sort of red pill applications as well. And the reason I say that is because prior to agriculture, prior to like when we were in a hunter-gatherer society, human beings and primates, and actually most higher order mammals have a sort of like a tit for tat kind of exchange. Like we have an idea of what's fair and what's just. They've done experiments where like monkeys will, one monkey will be given a grape in a cage and another monkey will be given a rock in the cage, right? And the other monkey sees that the other monkey gets a rock, and the other monkey gets pissed off, and the other monkey hands him the grape because it's like, that's pretty fucked up, here, have the grape kind of thing. So there's this kind of innate sense of justice, or like, I guess it would be called kin altruism in other senses. So you can break it down to sort of the biological sense. But we have this idea of what we owe someone else. Like if you do a favor for someone, or you feel like, what is it? The lion and the mouse, like you pull the thorn out of the lion's paw, because the mouse can do that, then the lion owes the mouse like a life debt, right? He's not going to kill the mouse. He's going to protect the mouse because the mouse like helped him out. He was a bro when he needed him to be. And so that concept of like what we owe somebody, or what the debt, what we, our actual debt is, was not really quantified until we got to the state where we had currency and we could put a monetary value on something. And that's how we sort of became, when I talk about validational sex versus like transactional sex, when a woman says, I don't owe you pretty, I don't owe you sex after a date, I don't, men aren't owed my attention, aren't owed whatever, they're tapping into a concept of debt. What is my value, and what should I, like, who should I give this value to, and what do I get in exchange for it? So when you hear women say like, oh, you're never owed sex after a date, or you're not owed pretty, they're tapping into like this fundamental idea of what debt actually should be, what their value is. Because the women who are saying this right here fundamentally, at some level of consciousness, understand that their only agency, their only real value at certainly between 18 and 28 is their sexuality. And that is a depreciating asset. That is a perishable, commodity for women all, across history, across the world, multiculturally, whatever you want to call it. women understand that that is their only real, their primary source of value. And so when men are, when less than, deserving men are the ones who are saying, hey, I want you to be pretty. Yeah, of course they're going to say that, because that's not an equitable exchange, because they're still thinking in terms of what should I be able to get for what I have. Now, of course, now that we are in the 21st century now, we've commodified everything. That's why we call it the sexual marketplace. So if you take the concepts that's like in this book here, which is, Debt by Graeber here, you take those concepts and you apply them now towards a sexual marketplace. When women are talking about, I don't owe you pretty, they're beginning from the perspective of that it's going to be a transactional nature of their sexuality from the very get-go. They don't have any other concept except for the transactional nature. And I talked about this from the male perspective when I talk about like how men, certainly like beta male men, have to up their value. That's why they call men high value men, or like the 80 percenters versus the 20 percenters. And men have to find ways to sort of like boost themselves up in the ranks so they can get above that 80 percentile, so that they become attractive to women in the first place. So what happens is you've got this imbalance between women's natural impulses, their validational need for sex, versus that transaction. What can I get for what I have? And because in the long run, women are going to be seeking long-term security for more of their life than they have the ability to like stay pretty and sexy and have that primary agency between like say 18 and 28. Women know that. And like I said, on some level of consciousness, they're trying to get the best deal that they possibly can. And they don't want the deal from some schlub who keeps thinking that he's owed sex because he did all of these great things, because she's still fighting with that sort of biological need to get the alpha seed. She wants the guy who's like, who is that she can look up to, admire, has value, is sexually arousing. I mean, is like the full and complete package. And again, in the 21st century, we have effectively created generation after generation of women who believe that their value is way higher than it actually is. And again, goes back to the concept of debt, what is owed. And then you have to attach that concept to the idea that women have to find the right guy, and and also what I call the existential fear of women, which is if they get with the wrong guy, it could be a death sentence to them. And so there's that sort of fear of getting with a guy who they think is high value, but later becomes low value, or he tricks her in some way. And so you're also dealing with sort of this existential, like, hindbrain, lizard brain fear of getting with a guy who is not who he says he is on that value metric that she's already predisposed to think of in terms of like, transaction and everything else. And so I think that's the really long-winded, big brain on Rollo version of what I think is going on here when women say you're not owed pretty. The O part of that sentence is exactly this whole concept of debt, and this concept of really goes back to honor and chivalry and everything else, because women believe that they are owed protection. They believe that they are owed provisioning. They believe that they are owed parental investment, but men are not owed pretty. So you see how the imbalance in that transaction works out.
Right. And I completely understand it. And I think out of everyone on the panel, out of everyone on the
manipulation
in my mind.
Yeah. But out of everyone on the panel here, I think I'm probably one who most acknowledges and believes, perhaps to a fault, the transactional nature between men and women. But when we go through that, I wouldn't call it a premise, that fact, that's what I'm trying to square right now. It's like, okay, at an innate level, at an instinctual level, women are acutely aware of their shelf life. Why then would they throw away the one thing that guys want and say, I don't owe you pretty, which I understand they don't owe, and you said correctly on the right word, but then go and get overweight and put their entire value, their entire value system on crap men don't care about, which I'm all for the individual. Like, yeah, go ahead and become an engineer, do this other thing. But at the same time, and maybe I'm too empirical, why don't
Cappy,
you? Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Have you ever had a relative who smoked like 2 packs a day, shit like that?
Yes.
Have you ever tried to tell them they shouldn't smoke, given them all the data and all the reasons why smoking's bad? And they probably told you, yeah, of course, I know it's bad. I shouldn't do it. And they shouldn't do it.
Yes.
Did they smoke themselves to death? Probably.
Not yet. No, not yet. But
All right. Well,
it
yeah,
time.
my dad was like that. He knew smoking was going to kill him. He smoked himself to death. It's like, yeah, why are these girls doing these things that's not healthy for them? There's an incentive in there that we don't see or don't understand, in the same way that like smokers and alcoholics will literally kill themselves with their vices.
Okay, let me expand on that. Could it be the same thing with vice? And I'll admit this, alcohol, you know why I like drinking alcohol? Aside from it's fun and you feel good?
Because you can stop before your liver fails?
No, it's easy.
Pass out before.
It's easy. And I'm wondering, like, people run off to political ideologies or religion and they participate. And Rolo, you nailed this with the brand of religion, where forget Yahweh, Allah, or Christ. That has nothing to do with that. It's a party or a group to belong to, a tribe
franchise.
As a thank you, franchise. Is it the same thing then that, this is a very cheap shot at girls. You've been brainwashed and indoctrinated, and it's easy because let me point out this. A girl,
more than that, though.
Okay, well, and we can get to it, but a girl will say, I want you to value me for me. And 9 times out of 10, I go and I look at the girl, and I'm like, you're a basic bitch. Not mean bitch, but like basic bitch in the slang or the parlance, where you have a liberal arts degree, you're not that smart, you're loaded up with debt, you don't have a great job, you're not interesting, you don't have thought that you didn't have put into your brain. You are the epitome of an NPC. And the reason they go with it is because that's easy. If I have empowerment and I don't know you pretty and snap the fingers and look out, here I come and I'm a feminist, it's like, okay, you and a billion other girls got that going on, but that's easy. And now they have this value system that is insular. It's totally circular. Are you guys familiar with the concept of self-love? Have you ran across that? And I'm not talking confidence or you value yourself.
John,
self-love.
No, self-love. Yeah, I've read Aurelius.
Well, no, I wish it was that deep. Maybe it's because I consumed all these female. I even started listening to Matt Hulsey. Have you guys met? Is that the guy, or Matt Hussey? Matt Hulsey?
Matthew Hussey.
Matt Hussey.
Matthew Hussey. Yeah, that's how. That's how.
Oh boy.
That guy is like God tier hustler. I'll give him that. We'll give him that.
He hustles way better than I do.
He knows what he's doing, and he ain't wrong. If you listen to him, like, damn, this guy knows what he's talking about.
I got money. It's a fake accent.
The chat goes wild.
Oh boy. Well,
did I miss the red meat? Did we red meat somebody? Yeah.
Yeah, we met Hussey. Somebody. Is my audio okay? Because I'm out here in the ocean.
Yeah, now it's good. It ain't windy no more.
You're hitting the top end a bit. That's about it, though.
You need one of those fluffy things on your mic.
You need a compressor.
I got. I don't know. I need a bubble. Put myself in a bubble or whatever. Anyway, but there's an entitlement aspect to this too. You notice it when you start getting into other cultures. I mean, Ryan and Rollo here, I don't have a whole ton to add because it's pretty much says a lot of it. But with the internet especially, and Rollo alluded to this, it's like their sexual market value is inflated in their minds. But it goes like deeper than that too, I think. We get into like this all or nothing logical fallacy with the internet. It's like, if I don't have a Lambo and 12 girlfriends, then I'm not alpha. I'm a piece of crap, right? Like that's that kind of all or nothing thing. And I think that girls get into that too. If they're not, they can't lean into being a 10 Instagram girl taking pictures of her butthole and making 6 figures on the internet. So most average girls, they end up latching on to this sort of feminist ideology because it's self-esteem saving. You know what I mean? Oh, well, I don't need to look pretty or whatever. It's an entitlement, and it saves their self-esteem because they'll never be a 10, even an 8 or a 9, right? Is feeling like they're going to be inadequate with the way that everything gets presented on social media. And I think those feelings of inadequacy, plus the entitlement of feminist ideology, brings them to this place where they don't think they need to do anything and they should get everything in this transaction. And obviously it's very misplaced, and it's a bit cultural, because I've been to other places where women aren't so westernized, and that would be insane to them. Like out in Poland, now there's of course young girls going through universities and being indoctrinated, so they're getting, it's happening everywhere. But most of these girls, for example, in Poland when I was there, they would not think they would never think that I should just be able to let myself get fat and my husband should be able to put up with that. Like that concept to them is so foreign and crazy. Like they know that they have to show up and be feminine, be pleasant to be around, and be attractive. Like that's part of what they are as a woman, and they embrace that. And they're not so indoctrinated in this ideology of entitlement. And so I think that that's a big part of this thing too. The reciprocal exchange or reciprocity aspect of it, from that's, well, I call it reciprocity, but what Rolla was talking about, I think is 100% true. I think that daddy issues and some of these other things definitely play a role. But I mean, I think we're really looking at an entitlement too that just it's very newly developed. I don't know if they were that entitled back in the day necessarily. Do you know what I mean? Like, and by and large, like so, we have, statistically speaking, we just seem to have a lot more of them. But sorry, go ahead.
Well, no. So let me ask Paul and the rest of the panel this: is this then the authenticity of this? Do women authentically believe? And this is why, because I don't have the answer, and I'd like to hear your guys' opinion of it. I get the very clear impression women, actually younger women especially, really believe that their value, not only to society and themselves, but also to men, should be like between us. Like there is no sexuality. Like I like Ryan because he was a sailor. He writes really well, and he's got a rat as a pet. You know, big rat as a pet. All right.
Hey, don't say shit you can't take back.
Really fast, long rat as a pet.
I'll be on a flight tomorrow.
No, your premiere won't let you leave. That's
well, let me ask you this then, Cappy.
Let me just finish.
Okay, you guys, I'll finish you first. I'll go.
Let me just finish it so we get, because I do want to advance it. Is this a see, now you threw me off by
is this authentic?
Is this authentic that women, like, you should like me? There's a me, and my genitalia and my big old bitties don't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if I'm fat, there is this core personality, this me that you should value and appreciate, whether it's personality, professionalism, politics, and that or, as I think Rolla was maybe hinting towards or highlighting a little bit, this is just one big ass shit test or a screen door front to keep subpar 8s and 9s and 10s out of their life.
Both, though. I think it's both. So it's both, because, like, all right, so there's, you know how you sidestep all this stuff. Sorry, you sidestep all this stuff by being the alpha guy without a better retainer word that she's genuinely attracted to and genuinely wants. Then all of a sudden she starts acting like a girl, and she starts having sex because she wants it, and she wants to make sure the guy that she's with is happy. She starts, if she falls for this guy and sees this opportunity of being with this guy in some mating capacity, and he's someone that she's very attracted to, and he has those traits, she'll sidestep a lot of these ideologies. The problem is, though, there's a level of conditioning involved too. So they're not practicing and embracing their femininity and their attractiveness, and they're not practicing, not being entitled. So when they meet this guy, they'll start to change those behaviors, but they're just not very good at it. You know what I mean? They're not really good at necessarily pleasing a guy, and they're not good at necessarily being attractive. And I think that there's a lot of conflict that happens within them, and then it can fall back into this ideology, kind of like making that necessity a virtue. Like when it's not working out with that guy that she's really attracted to, then it's like, oh, well, he's a jerk, and, I want a guy who likes me for me. She falls into that because the guy that she really wanted, was like, dude, she is emotionally unstable, and she's can't seem to get into a fitness program, and I don't know, whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Ryan, did you have something? Brian?
Yeah. I love how you use the choice.
Look at him,
words
he's
identity.
salivating at the chops. Ryan's ready.
I'm gonna fuck things up, but you were ahead in line, so go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I love how you said authentic. You know what authentic is? What you basically asked is, do they think wrestling is real? And that's the wrong question to ask.
right.
It's a kayfabe. Look, when a girl is telling shit like that to a guy, it's because she's not attracted to him. Like, if she's into a guy and she really wants a guy, she acts the way she best can to get into there. Like I said, what's the Rolo thing? Girl will call through broken glass for a guy she's into. Do you think she's pulling this whole, you don't want me for sex, I'm a boss queen, to some dude that she thinks, this is the best guy I've ever seen, I want him? No. She says that to the guy that's like, if I say this shit,
right,
he'll fight really hard for me and pay some bills. And there's a super chat you got in here where the guy asked that. Here's the answer. Why did she say this shit? She's like a single mom with 2 kids. Why is she calling herself a boss bitch? Because 500 simps have fallen for it. So she's had every incentive to act that way because, frankly, it works. It fucking works. So it's all like a theater production.
100%.
It's authentic in the same way that Tom Cruise plays a really good investigative guy in that Jack Reacher show. So yeah, it absolutely is that. They know in their heart of hearts it's like this. But
And
until they run
that's
into a guy that
outstanding.
they have to fight for, they're not going to act according to the reality of it. They're going to act according to the emotion of it, the kayfabe.
Now we could what deeply lurks in the hearts of people, but you hit it in the heart of hearts, and see that's where I have. Well, continue on. I'll bring this.
But
up
yeah,
later,
I'll end it on this because I don't like how it's framed as in like we're doing this. What does the women think? And like they're a Swiss watch to take apart. From a guy's perspective, if a girl is into you, you will never see this shit. In my life, in real life connections, not one girl that I know does shit like this because every man that they're with are the friends and the family of mine that are switched on guys. So girls act right because they don't have an incentive to do this stupid play acting theater because their attraction to the guy and their lifestyle choices align, right? And I know that sounds wishy-washy. But yeah, as a guy, when you start hearing this shit, what that's telling you is she's not attracted to you in the way that you want her to be. Now, whether that's because you're objectively a piece of shit and you need to work on yourself, or because she's a piece of shit and you don't want to waste your time, doesn't fucking matter. All you're hearing when she starts talking about this is, this ain't the one. This ain't the one to slip your dick into. This ain't the one to make a relationship out of. Don't wife her up. And that's it. And that's as far into it as you need to look. Is this right for me? Self-love. I'm not going to, like you said, because a lot of guys will argue, what do you bring to the table? What do you do this? And all you're doing is like, this chick has a flat out said, I don't find you attractive enough and I'm going to fight you. And you're like, well, I don't have enough self-love for myself, so I am going to engage in this unattractive behavior because it makes me feel better about it. And then both sides are doing this weird, unattractive dance. And it's like the absolute opposite of Hulk Hogan fighting the Ultimate Warrior in WrestleMania 6 because nobody's watching.
There we go. There we go again.
Well, I passed the conch to Rolo Tomasi because I want to hear his much better take on it.
What I was going to say is that I think there's 3 things going on here. First off, Ryan, I think is 100% right. But there's 2 game dynamics that are involved in this. First of all, a woman who's into you will not confuse you. Okay, so she's not going to confuse you with like, whoa, what are you bringing to it? It's not if a woman wants to fuck you, she's going to find a way to fuck you. And it's not going to be about negotiations. It's not going to be, if she's really that into you, like I said, she'll change her sports team and her religion and leave her family and her homeland and come and live with you because she's a ride or die chick. That's number 1. Number 2 is the cardinal rule of game, which is women make rules for betas and they break rules for alphas. And so when women the only times you're going to hear women talking about how, I don't owe you pretty and I don't owe you this. And, we don't owe you men aren't owed sex after a date. You don't hear that from women who are like, in their peak sexual market value years. You hear that from women who are like in the epiphany phase or after that, like so 29 on up into the mid 30s. That's when you'll hear, oh, men are so infantile and they're threatened by a strong, intelligent, career professional alpha female woman. I did a show about this one chick on the Steve Harvey show not too long ago. And of course, Steve Harvey just fumbles around like the bumbling idiot that he is. But I thought she was a prime example of a woman who is 35 years old. She's got her own little professional thing going and she can't find a guy who's like economically attractive and can't find the guy who's just going to saddle.
Hang on, was that the cupcake entrepreneur? She made cupcakes. And I was like,
yeah. But that was one of a really good episode for me. But so I use that as an example, but you'll get women who are between the ages of say like 31 and 38, somewhere around there. And that's when you'll hear this kind of mantra. And the reason for that is because they understand that they can't compete at the same level that they used to. So now it shouldn't be their attraction, like like men should be attracted to me for my professionality, my career, my money, all the things that would make a man attractive at 35. Those are the things that should make me attractive right now too. And how do we hedge against that? Well, men are infantile. Men are threatened from a strong, powerful, career woman. I'm boss babe or something like that. So we have these social conventions along the way that teach women that their value shouldn't necessarily be the sexual market value, shouldn't necessarily be their sexual agency, which like I said, on some level of consciousness on the hindbrain, women realize that's why they take their clothes off at every protest, right? Because that's what gets attention. They know that's what gets eyes and
deep down inside.
If they want to say something, if they want to protest something, if they whatever it is, the first thing they do is strip off their clothes or get into a bikini or whatever else. So raising awareness for PETA or some shit like that, right? And it's like, well, let's take our clothes off. That's the natural impulse, because again, on the lizard brain level, that's what women realize. Now, after a while, once that becomes perishable, once it decays, and they haven't found Mr. Right, they haven't found the guy that they think that they deserve, that's when they want to change the game. Rather than be a better player of the game, they want men to play the game that they set the rules for.
Yep, change the rules.
I use this example as like back in the early 2000s when the WNBA was becoming a thing. No one was going to the games. No one goes and sees female soccer. No one goes and sees the WNBA because none of the girls can dunk. It's not very exciting, and nobody really cares about the WNBA. So what were they saying back in, like, I think it was 2002 or 2003? They're saying, let's lower the nets. Let's bring the nets down from whatever 12 feet to 10 feet or something, so the little ladies can like actually dunk and make this thing more exciting for fans, right? And the fact is there were no fans to begin with, and then second of all, that fundamentally changes the nature of the game. It is no longer basketball if you're lowering the nets down so women can compete at whatever is their functionality at that stage. We're seeing the same thing happen right now in like transgender sports, right? Men come in and dominate transgender sports as the same thing because they're changing the nature of that game. And that's, if you expand that, extrapolate that into the sexual marketplace, when women get to the point where they can't compete, they want men to change the game. So now, men, you're not supposed to be into me because I'm hot, I got big titties, and I've got blue hair and blonde hair and blue eyes and whatever else. Now it's what's on the inside that counts. Now it's all about healing. Now it's all about all this ephemeral emotionalism, and anything like the quality of the person is about their self-worth. And I've said in the past that women will always conflate sexual market value with personal worth. So if I say, well, you're not as attractive as you used to be at 33, they'll go, oh, you think I'm a worthless individual? No, but you made that natural connection there because you conflate your only agency with your personal worth. You could be Mother Teresa and be this wonderful human being and humanitarian the rest of your life. It doesn't make you any hotter in a swimsuit. And so they say, okay, then we want you men to love us for our personal worth rather than our sexual market value. And now it fundamentally changes the nature of the game so that women can compete at a different level with other women, actually.
Outstanding. Gold star.
Who is that?
Go ahead, John.
That comedian has that joke.
Fitch, your internet's horrible, man.
Women are trying to sell you a car that you don't want.
There we go.
Oh
man.
I know what bit you're talking about.
No, you just cleaned up. It's good though. Keep going. Keep going.
You're just going,
Fitch. Go ahead. You're good now. You're good.
No, yeah, me and I forget his name, but big black guy died a little while ago. But he had that joke, like women constantly want to try to sell you a
Patrice
car.
O'Neal.
Like you have no interest.
One of my favorite comedians, Patrice O'Neal.
You want the Ferrari, but they're trying to sell you the Yugo.
yeah, right. Well, it's a good thing to pay attention to, like, the woman that has just let herself go and is, I want a guy who likes me for me. That from a mate selection standpoint, that's somebody you're not going to want to select. I mean, she's given up essentially. You know, I mean, yeah, the girl that's putting out there the transactional vibe, she doesn't like you. You know what I mean? I don't know you, sex girl. Yeah, she's not seeing you as that alpha option. She's seeing you as transactional, but she's still going to make herself attractive. Go to the gym, pay attention to what she looks like, dresses like, try to pay attention to her behavior. Although Ryan pointed out, solipsism is an important thing to keep in mind here, because they project what they want in a partner, thinking that's what guys want, you know, a lot of times. So this is where, you know, she's like, oh, I want, you know, I have a degree and I have my own money and like all this stuff. She thinks that makes her attractive, and she thinks that makes her attractive because solipsistically that's what she's looking for. So there's an element of that too. Okay. But yeah, if she's let herself go, she's basically given up on herself and her ability to find genuine desire. So she's now looking for a transactional mate. And that's where her mind is at that point. She's no longer young and hot. And so she has given up. And so her mindset and her approach is going to be transactional across the board. And she's going to want to fall to that and probably not be a good partner, even if she genuinely desires somebody. You know what I mean? She'll fall back into those more feminine behaviors. But as soon as she gets, you know, some outcome she doesn't like, or is told no, or has a little bit of dread, she'll fall right back into that entitlement. And I want a guy, you know, who likes me for me kind of bull stuff, right? And stop and not think that she needs to bring attractiveness to the table. And so it's just something just to keep in mind, you know, when you guys out there that are listening, when you're dating women and she gets 28, 29, 30, and she abandons her, let's say, attractiveness as a strategy, that chick's given up, and she's stepped into full entitlement and transactional mindset when it comes to relationship. And she's probably, even if she genuinely desires you, just not going to be a good mate or partner. So you need to be aware of that.
Let me ask this of the panel then. Generally speaking, what we have set up then, or what seems to be the case, is women have a default existential value system that is insular, and I would argue has been programmed and indoctrinated and given to. And I do mean this as a condemning or a damning accusation, although men could apply to this well, that women are programmed to be NPCs in this regard in Western civilization, that your value system is you, your politics, feminism, socialism, and all the other stuff that, you know, and
well, sure. I understand there's instinctual.
Paul, let me
Sorry,
finish, Paul.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. That is your operation base. And this is why I really wish Troy Francis or even Sterling could have been on, because they're incredibly handsome men and they are considered alpha men. Until the alpha
candy, they're the eye candy.
Get you Justin Waller if you want.
As opposed to us ugly bastards.
No leprechauns. We don't want no big strong.
Santa's given nothing but coal this year. Jesus.
Anyway, so that's their operating base. Until the right alpha comes along with the key to the kingdom. Here's and this is why it's very important that we look at it. Now, Rollo says that when you get to the epiphany phase, the gal that wrote this is 20. People, their younger gals actually really do believe this. If you stay in that existential system, if you stay in that toxic value system, I would argue, because valuing oneself for the sake of oneself is ultimately arrogant and narcissistic and damaging, I would argue. The right alpha comes along, does not staying in that environment so long carry on negative, like impair your ability. Because Paul, you said, you say, you know, you want a girl that's feminine or nice. And this is another thing. Okay. Men immediately want physical beauty, because without that, there is no love. You need to be physically attracted. All right. So that's one. The second thing is, let's say that girl does find you physically attractive. The next thing I want is not, oh, are you a careerist? Do you vote the right way? What are your politics? Do you care about the animals? The next thing I want is femininity, because I'll F you, but I'm not going to commit to you. But to commit to you, are you nice? Do you dote on me? Do you defer to me and let me lead? Are you going to nag me to F in death? Or are you going to be sweet, kind, caring, and supporting, in addition to being sexually attractive? And that's where I think maybe older women kind of, all right, she'll put on the heels and she'll dye her landing strip and she'll do the other thing. But I am getting all the research I did, very clear impression that the younger women, okay, they might make, Troy Francis comes in, oh, hello, I got my accent, and then the girls are like, oh my God, a British guy, he's so much smarter because of his accent. And they give him the keys to the kingdom. But are they still going to hold on to their old value system? Do you even know how to treat a guy?
Let me say, so here's how that kind of shows up. It's the difference between sex and relationship, though, too, right? So she'll throw away that entitlement when she's sexually attracted and it's the right time of the month and she's horny and she meets that guy. She'll do that short term, but you kind of have to watch what her, like, as far as guys thinking about relationship stuff, you got to look at what her default behaviors are, because once she gets in a relationship with you, no matter how like alpha you are, and that's why relationship game is really important. Once she's with you, she starts to see that she's of value to someone of your caliber. And so she starts to believe that thought that, oh my gosh, this guy is so attractive and I desire this guy, and all those innate tendencies, they sort of, once she's in that relationship, she sort of sees not she don't see herself as your equal necessarily, but she can at times. And so she's going to, in the relationship, start to default to what her normal behaviors are after a while. You know what I mean? And so there's a level of game you have to have in relationships, but she won't necessarily permanently change herself for the guy that she really desires unless she's capable of it. And unfortunately, with the social conditioning, and there are, I was going to say, when, I agree with you that there's this conditioning that's happening, but that conditioning works because it taps into innate, instinctual stuff, right? It wouldn't work if it didn't tap into some of those things. But at any rate, yeah, she in that relationship, she'll default to who she is and what she normally acts like. So if she's normally an entitled person who doesn't think that she has to take care of herself, for example, she'll start off to get you doing those things. And if she's not capable of seeing that that's something that needs to be a permanent change for her and for her new lifestyle and all that stuff with this guy, she'll default back to old behaviors. And so guys, they'll get sex from the girl. She'll have that desire, the honeymoon phase. She'll be showing up a certain way. And then once she no longer has this guy idealized, she starts to see him kind of as, we'll say, the caliber of woman who could have this caliber of guy. Then she defaults to what her normal behaviors are. And if those normal behaviors are feminist indoctrinated, strong, independent woman BS, stuff, that's what you're going to end up with that in a year. You know what I mean? So,
right. Yeah. No.
Yeah. So that's the thing. You want to kind of, as you're moving through the sexual marketplace, you're dating, spinning plates, whatever you want to call it, you're looking at how she behaves when you're not a factor in that. How does she treat wait staff or people that serve her, for example?
Can do nothing for her.
You know what I mean? That aren't going to do anything for them other than, of course, whatever their service is. How does she treat her friends, her family? Does she do things for other people because it's part of who she is? Or is she just opportunistic and more or less kind of narcissistic in her relationships? It's something really to pay attention to.
No one else has anything?
Oh, well, that's an
I'll
easy
keep
one.
going.
No. Look, what do you guys expect? Do you think it's like a one and done thing? Get a girl that's attracted to you, she acts right, and then it's done, right? No, it's
no
like
more work is needed. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm going to simplify Paul's thing because I'm not as smart or as verbose as him or as Rolo. So I do like the poor man's 8th grade reading level version of their stuff. She's going to test you because she wants to know you haven't changed. What's the old saying?
Yeah.
A girl marries a guy hoping to change him. A guy marries a girl hoping she doesn't change. Yeah. She's going to test you. That's the whole point of a shit test. A shit test is she's attracted, but she doesn't trust her instincts. So she makes sure she wants to see if you're still the same attractive guy that's making her tingle or it's just fake. So yeah, it's Carl puts it, death by 1,000 concessions. Franco and David Clare put it, the betaization process. So yeah, you're going to get with the girl. She is attracted to you. She acts nice. She acts good. She respects your boundaries. You know, she teaches you some things about yourself. She tells you floor when you ask her to. All that great shit. Here's the thing. That's it. That's not it. Like, okay, got a ring, done. No, she's constantly testing. And God bless them for that. How boring would life be if, like, by 23 years old, you get a girlfriend and
enjoyable. Yeah. I'd get my slippers and a coffee served to me.
I'm going to sit here for 80 years and drink whiskey and smoke a cigar and then just die happy. You'd be bored. Yeah, no, so she's testing you. That's the whole thing. And I honestly think it's a good thing. I think as a species, we did well. Like, we selected for the girls that always shit test you. And we selected for the guys that didn't fucking buckle because of it. And that's why frame. John always says that. Frame, the most important thing. Looks, money, game, frame. Yeah, frame is what allows you to have your strong values. So when she tests you on this stuff, it doesn't rattle you. It's the same reason why Rollo doesn't say, like, do you have to game your wife? He's like, I don't have to game my wife every day. I am the game. And it sounds hyperbolic, but that's what he means. He means when his girl tests him, and 20-some years of marriage, she still tests him. I guarantee it.
Oh yeah.
And there's probably sometimes he wants to put her head through drywall. At least I know for me, that's the case too. And mine tells me every 3 days she wants to hit me in the face for my attitude. And you just laugh it off.
Knee pads and goggles are
casino.
Yeah. But that's the thing.
Put the helmet on. You're going through the drywall.
These little tests you get day in and day out, and they're small and they're insignificant and they mean nothing. They're a way for you to solidify the shit that you've been learning. All this game stuff. It's not faking. It's not manipulative. It's not tricks. It's just who you are. And if it's not who you are and you find this difficult, then you're not there yet. But yeah, thank God for it. What else are you going to do with your life? Let it happen. Let her test you. She's testing you because she gives a shit and she wants you to win.
You guys are so tolerant. I cannot.
It's not a tolerance thing, though. That's what I'm getting at. Here's the thing. When you work out, you're sore as shit after a good workout, right?
Right.
Are you tolerating the workout, or is that part of the process?
Right. And see, the shit tests are not so horrifying when she's a decent human being and doesn't have some of these qualities and traits. They're gonna be there, but they're not so terrible. They're kind of fun in some ways, right? It's not
and vaccinated anti-vaxxer is in here too. Like, wives don't realize belittling their husbands is not empowering, it's embarrassing. That's something different. If if your girl is belittling you in front of people, that's a boundary to cross. That's what we're talking about. That's not what a shit test is. That's what a disrespectful woman is. That's not attractive.
Disrespect is not good. I want to just like a real quick thing on disrespect too, because it kind of alludes to this. This is a real problem, is that when women are being conditioned to believe that men are garbage, right? And men are not worth anything. Oh, and men this and men that. I mean, they're being conditioned to be disrespectful as a strong, independent woman to men. That's their default mechanism. That's what they think that makes them socially valuable. Because remember, there's being valued by the guy she's with, but there's also social value, right? Because she wants to be accepted by the tribe. And so if the tribe is saying, hey, be disrespectful to men because you're a strong, independent woman, that's what she'll default to. But here's the problem with that. We're actually conditioning women, to not be able to have that genuine desire long term for the guy.
And that's outstanding point, Paul, because I was wondering if you stay from, say, 13 puberty on to 30 and you don't need men and watch the Sex in the City and like that's got to form your brain a little bit.
And so because see, disrespect, and we'll call it, it's a container word, but we'll say love, they don't exist in the same room when it comes to female desire and wanting to be with a man. She can't love you and also think of you in a disrespectful way. It doesn't work when you think about hypergamy, right? She has to see that you're capable and that you're in a sense a bit better than she is. Disrespect is saying you're not capable, you're not valuable, and I'm going to demonstrate that now in public, or I'm going to demonstrate that to you and by name calling or treating you a certain way. Well, if their default mechanism is their habituated response is to be disrespectful, they're kind of training their brain in a way to not, again, container word, love their partner. And so this is why, like, the disrespectful woman who's just that way and disrespectful towards men as a default, if she can't break that, that is a problem for something long term. because she is conditioning herself to basically fall out of, again, container word, love for you, because this is why you cannot tolerate disrespect in any sense, any degree. I mean, she could be mad at you. She could disagree with you.
Mhm.
She could have she can want to kill you.
Hate you. Yeah.
She can be disgusted by you, but disrespecting you is saying that you're not capable and you're not worthwhile. Hypergamously, that doesn't fit in her brain with genuine desire. If you allow her to do those responses in a habituated sense, even though it's just habituated, it's a default response, we convince ourselves of things. Here's where it works with a guy, because guys could actually, because we're not hypergamous, we could be disrespectful and still have genuine desire for our partner, which we have to be careful of, actually, because we might disrespect our partner and then she's going to feel unloved, so to speak, with our disrespect, but she didn't realize we can actually have those genuine desire feelings for her and disrespect at the same time, because we're not hypergamous. But what we can't have is disgust. So men, we can't be disgusted with our partner. If we're disgusted with our woman, we don't have genuine desire for her. You know what I mean? So that's something kind of to keep in mind too, on the other side of it. So imagine though, if you were socially conditioned to say that women are disgusting, and my partner, she's a disgusting piece of crap, and you call her a disgusting piece of crap in every argument, and you're just disgusted by her, you're conditioning yourself to fall out of desire with that woman. You know what I mean? And that is eventually what will happen, because you will do what you practice. You know what I mean? And so that's what, if you could imagine on the guy side, what that would be like to constantly think of your partner as disgusting, what that would do to your mind in terms of actually desiring and want to be with her. You wouldn't even want to have sex with her anymore after a point. Well, disrespect works that way with a woman. If she is practicing disrespect, no go. You know what I mean? She's eventually not even going to want to have sex with you, regardless of whether or not, you're tolerating it or not. You know what I mean? She can't have that as a default mechanism. And so it's just something really to keep in mind.
Do you guys almost feel, because I don't know if you guys have ran into more and more female, either readers, subscribers, email content, whatever, but I've had a consistent increase in female clients. And
It's the hat.
Yes,
It's
yes,
that.
it is.
Yeah.
Once I start putting this on, I don't know why December sales to women jumps. But I cannot help but feel a little bit of sadness and pity, because these gals, it's a stereotype, 40 plus. How do I find a guy?
Yeah.
And they're kind of coming around where it's like, okay, I know I'm not going to have kids, and I know I'm maybe not going to find the love of my life, but like, how do I find just a guy? How can I get some tail? How do I get, and it's like, well, what the heck were you doing? And that's where I kind of feel sad for these gals. And these were the ones that were not radicalized feminists and indoctrinated in an
They were lied to, and they were told they had time.
They were very lied to.
That's
where it's especially because if it really, and I'm not trying to promote the book. The book it's toxic, but it's insightful. But this is what a 20-year-old girl wrote, or ostensibly wrote. And everybody, like that, it's got way more sales than any one of our books or all of our books combined. And I'm kind of thinking, like, it's a sad value system. It's one thing to value yourself and be the center of your own attention, to if you go and produce something of value, or you go live your life the best that you can. But what I see with this value system is, when you define yourself as what you're not, that means you have no core. I mean, it's like a black hole. A black hole is not. It's a void. There's nothing there. Well, I'm not a fascist. I'm not a kid diddler. I'm not a Republican, or I'm not a patriarchy or something like that. It's like, okay, but what are you? And when they come out of it, they're saying, well, I was nothing. I was nothing to no one and nobody. And the tragedy to live this life and have a value system, like, look, I'm probably the grumpiest of us all, but the number one thing is other people in life. Rollo's got his wife. Ryan has his girl. Fitch has his children. Paul, you got some nice sunglasses. But,
Thank you, I appreciate that.
but I'm trying to think, like, that's got to warp and ultimately destroy your life, to where the only asset that you had that would have attracted you or had any kind of transactional or ultimately mutual beneficial transaction, voluntary, with one half of the population being the opposite sex to ultimately lead to probably having kids and would give you other real point and purpose, more other people that would give you value, make life worth living. I'm just like, even though, yes, I know they're ideologically opposed, some of them actually are misandrous. Some of them are accidentally misandrous and they hate our guts and it wears thin on guys. But I still cannot say, damn, man, you wasted your life.
Yeah.
Like you may as well not have even lived.
Mm.
And do we owe it?
Women
like,
destroy themselves if they're allowed to their own devices. And I know this is like not a popular thing, but it just look, for a long time we were dead from something by 30. I mean, yeah, we had the capacity to live, fully to 80s or 90s in tribal times, but most of the time that didn't happen. Most of the time your average lifespan was 30 because you were dead from a disease and there's no penicillin, or some predator ate you or whatever, or intertribal violence. And so, yeah. And so, like their strategy, which, Rollo has pointed out in his book, changes over time. It was innately designed for them to start spitting out kids when they were about 14 with various different alpha men that they can find. And then they die from a saber-tooth tiger attack or whatever the hell, you know what I mean? By the time they're 30, and that's it. And then their offspring goes on. And so if they want long-term success, which is living to be 85 years old, let's say, new lifespan, new average lifespan, well, they're going to have to do some different strategies that are different than when they're 21 years old. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And a counselor in the 80s had figured out 5 things. I've talked about this a few times. She didn't understand EvoPsych, but it fit really well. She just noticed in therapy that women were selecting guys based on 5 categories. And if you look at their age, that's when 1 or 2 of these are in the forefront. And so it was sexual draw or sexual needs or desires. That's one category. Emotional draw towards a guy is another one. Security needs is another one, which was, can he beat ass for me and can he get resources and spend them on me? 4th one was paternity. And then 5th one was legacy. And so legacy is he going to discard her as she ages and hits the wall? That's legacy. And so depending on where a girl's at in life, one of these things is in the forefront. The 42-year-old woman you're talking to who can't find a good man, she's thinking about a legacy partner, most likely. A guy that's going to accept her even as she ages and declines. That guy she needed to find when she was 30, right? So he gets the marriage goggles by the time she's 42, and he doesn't discard her, and they keep going on into something.
Because you have a relationship built by that point.
Right, exactly. But unfortunately now she's trying to do that at 42, 43, when I'm 43 and my girl is 30. You know what I mean? Of course. If I wasn't in that relationship, I'd probably be dating in about my favorite age category is about 24 to 28. I met my girl when I was 27. You know what I mean? And so, or she was 27. That's my dating category. Why? Because I can. And that's what's sexually desirable. I'm not trying to push out a 43-year-old woman necessarily, but they're not as attractive, and what they're looking for isn't as fun for me.
Let me jump in here, John, real quick, or Paul, real quick.
Of course.
Because let me see if I can clarify a few things here. Because I think what's happening right now is, I think you're right in the sense that we have what's known as genomic lag. Okay, we're not able, like, we're still the same critters we were 100,000 years ago. I'm more or less, anyways. I mean, biologically speaking, the machine is still the same. The evolutionary firmware is still the same. As I was saying before, the transactional nature of sex has become commodified with currency, with debt, with owing. It comes natural to us, but the sort of systemization of it has changed, and for a very long time, that systemization has favored men, because that's like, if you when women say, men used to treat us as property. We're not your property, right? That's really what this kind of comes down. You want to know why women don't want to take your last name? It's not because they're lawyers and they don't want to change their business cards. They don't want to be owned. It's that idea that, you know, if I take his name, then I'm going to be owned. And or even like just having a patrilinear system of marking whose genetics are more important than the others, because up to this point we've named our children after the father, and they get the surname, and we go for, I mean, at least in Western societies anyways. And that also finds its roots like in naming, you know, giving a name to your DNA. And that's, you know, we can look at the systemization, like the social like function or convention of, you know, how do we do that? Well, it's through marriage, it's through last name, it's through patrilinear, you know, patriarchal systemization. But now what's happened is really since the sexual revolution, we've changed all that system up. And I think that's what's kind of throwing Cappy off right now, because it seems kind of counterintuitive for a woman to want to like in some way like hobble herself or like disincentivize men to want to get with her by not being feminine, by not adopting these things, by not and instead masculinizing themselves. I got into this conversation with Robert Kiyosaki. I got into it with was it Sydney and Elijah on You Are Here a week ago. And the idea that women become these sort of alpha females, or they get to that point where you're talking about right now, Cappy, they get to be like, you know, their late 30s, maybe early 40s. They haven't found a man. They haven't consolidated on anything. It's gotten to the point where Morgan Stanley is already making business forecasts so that they can, you know, profit from this. So it's common enough that we can actually make money off of it. But the long and the short of it is that what women do is they have been so incentivized. And like I said, the fempowerment narrative, really since the sexual revolution, we put more women into the workplace. We make divorce, you know, and we incentivize divorce for a long time. We disincentivize marriage. We incentivize women's empowerment in across cultures, across media, whether it's, you know, popular culture, it's music, it's movies, it's Disney, Pixar, whatever. We have systematically like hammered home this idea that that women are just as good as a guy. It's this blank slate social constructionism of gender. That's how you get that, and it has to be there for women to actually prosper or to be, you know, the equivalent of a man. And that's exactly what they've done. Rather than being feminine and being, embracing that natural femininity and that motherhood, that nurturing, that stuff that we would say would be value added to a relationship, instead we get the alpha female. We get this Sheryl Sandberg and women
destroying them,
which is destroying them. But it's also on top of everything else. Now they get to that age, Cappy, they get to like say 35, 36 years old, and they don't understand why there's no men that are like lining up to get with them, because they're alpha females and they've been sold this bill of goods for a long time that if they do these things that would make a man attractive, because it's all blank slate, right? Men and women are just equal. But if they do the things that make a man attractive, that should make them attractive as well. And that's patently false, because it goes against sort of the evolved nature of men. Men want fertility and beauty and youth, and they want big tits and hourglass shape and everything else. That's our primary criteria. And so what happens is you have this several generations now of women who get to that point and they go, well, is that really what you guys want? Do you really want the big tits and the blue eyes and the the centerfold look and all that other stuff? And guys are like, yeah.
Yes.
So what you're essentially telling those women, as you just said a second ago, Cappy, is that you've lived your life the wrong way. You've done the wrong thing. And so the only solution to your relationship problem, it was like the same thing with that chick on Steve Harvey. The only solution is to dumb yourself down, is to disempower yourself after spending probably your entire life being told that you should empower yourself to the point where you're at. But the problem is now you have become unmarriageable. You become unfuckable. You become unmommable or whatever it is. And so there's a generation of women who are saying, I got to be a dumbass so I can get a guy. And the answer is yes, you do. And they don't have any.
They got to embrace their feminine. I
don't think you got to dumb yourself down, but
well, that's the interpretation. That's the interpretation that they have.
Oh, I see. Okay, all right.
That's the interpretation that they have, and they're in a position where they're like, "Well, I guess I'm going to die alone." And the answer is, you probably are.
Well, they interpret power from a masculine sense.
Yeah,
because there's taught blank slate equalism, so they interpret power from a masculine sense only. So if they give up their masculine tendencies, to them that's disempowering. Well, they don't understand though that there's a lot of power in submission, actually, and femininity,
or just
that's
being
not
nice.
being embraced. You know what I mean? There's a lot of power in having social maneuverability because people really like you. And they
Ryan,
think
what were
you're
you
pretty.
gonna say? You were chomping.
I'm
at the
going to
bit
do
there.
some economics shit like you, Cappy.
Oh
I think
boy,
I can do
look
this.
out!
Oh,
Whoa, Canadian economics, more taxes and
Here we
more money
go.
for the
Well,
poor.
you got
Here
a
we go.
very, very switched on chat, but there's a couple things that I think they get a little bit too abstract to realize. You know how like women always used to be better, and we're talking a lot about how a lot of women are trash, right? In the 1920s, they used to be better. And I'm like, yeah, in the 1920s, there was 1 billion people on Earth. What are we at now? 8? That's an 8-fold increase in people. So in relative numbers, yeah, women, let's say, I'm just throwing numbers out of my ass, but I'm illustrating a point. I'm not trying to be descriptive. Let's say 50% of women back in the 1920s were absolute great waifus with blue hair and flapper girl dresses, but they're, good, solid women. And nowadays, like 10% of women are any good. But there's 8 good ones today for every one good one there was in the 1920s. So from an absolute perspective, there has never been a large amount or as large an amount of women that are worth dating. I won't even say high quality. I'll just say a girl that you could look at and be like, yeah, I could do a lot worse. Fine. The problem is, because we also live in the attention economy, we have an absolute focus on the most outrageous people. And that's thoughts. That's women that ain't shit. All the women is bad people, because frankly, that gets clicks. Everybody loves to see bullshit women doing bullshit things. That reminds me of my bitch ex-wife. Fresh and Fit right now is 10 times as big as me, because they attach to those like 350,000 OnlyFans in North America out of like the 1.5 billion women that are there. So when a lot of guys are complaining, and we can do this, here's my question to the audience. We're doing it as content creators, but as the audience, why are you so focused on the demographic that you want nothing to do with, when there is a huge demographic of undervalued assets because they don't make a lot of headlines in the news? And I'll end on this one. Maybe I should end on that. You know what? I'm going to end on that.
That is
From an
so
economic
true.
standpoint, there is more women in an absolute sense that are definitely that have potential and are willing to be feminine in that. But from an attention standpoint, those aren't the ones that get clicks because they don't look good on a thumbnail. But some chick throwing out her cooter absolutely gets all the attention.
Dude, I've been saying that for a little bit. I've been talking about some chick in Middle America with her Bass Pro hat on looks better naked than some girl showing herself on Fresh and Fit.
And that's where the touch grass thing comes from too, right? Where everybody's like, yeah, I went home and I didn't see anything about hypergamy. It's like, exactly. You don't get it unless you're looking for it.
Supply store and you'll find the hotties there.
You'll find them in New York too. Like you'll find them anywhere.
That's no joke though. Sometimes you do, and that's the thing. Hot is hot, and there are hot girls everywhere, and they're not all these Instagram, hoes, if you want to call them, whatever. And it's the thing, guys need to stop clout chasing women too, right?
Yeah,
I mean, their perception is that, oh man, look at like this girl who's got all these photos and filters of herself, and guys simping for her. She's a 10. No, she's not.
And here's the part where I think I'm going to lose the audience too, right? Where I say, why is it you're focused so much on these irredeemable women? The women who are good at relationships get into relationships. By the time you hit 28, 29, 30, those are the survivorship bias. There's another economic term, survivorship bias. If you were able to hold down a man, you'd have done it before you hit 30. The only ones left at 30, there's a small percentage of good ones that just haven't found the right man, but it's mostly the chicks that self-selected for being a piece of shit woman. So yeah, that's why you should date younger. It's not because evolutionary, whatever. It's because you're at least from a pool of women who have potential.
Yeah, they're.
But why, as a guy, are you so focused on these other ones? I mean, not you. I'm abstract speaking, right? So we lose the audience. And I would argue.
Example. It's a stream illustration. That's why.
For us, that's why. It's a great example. But I mean, for an audience member, why? And I would argue it's because it's easier to blame them for everything than it is to focus on where your weak spots are.
So here's a problem with that idea, Ryan. And I'm not saying you're wrong. You're actually 100% right, because that's what gets clicks, is seeing these, ratchet hoe 304s on Fresh and Fit or wherever else for that matter. Right? I got the shirt now. But the idea that that demographic of girls is always going to be that way, most likely. And should Fresh and Fit consider getting like another demographic of girls on there? Sure, but would they be as successful? Probably not. But
as creators, we absolutely should not. We got to lean into it. That's a survival.
They're doing their thing.
Here's my other point is this: is that we also have to look at it. Be careful not to go the extreme other way, because when you look at them and you can see, I can make all kinds of analysis, let's just say, of the women that are on there and say, okay, here's an example of hypergamy. Here's an example of, what war brides, killed a party, whatever. I can use that. They're real easy illustrations for that. But I think when you say, oh, well, they're only chicks that they pulled from the clubs in Miami, so it's not representative of the entire, concentration of the United States. And I agree with that. But the problem is that you can't dismiss like fundamental aspects, like the predictive framework of women's nature, just because not all women are like the women that are on Fresh and Fit, right? So I think there's a danger in thinking like, well, I found this chick at Tractor Supply store and she's a real good old country, salt of the earth woman, and she would never cheat on me, and she would never, and then, meanwhile, she's actually on Instagram. She's got her OnlyFans account, and she's, maybe she's a single mother as well, and not necessarily to the degree of like outrageousness that you would see on Fresh and Fit, but she's still
mild thoughtery.
She's still like, women are still women, no matter where they are in the world. How they contextualize that nature, and as Paul was saying, we live in the sort of this attention economy right now. How do they advertise their sexuality? How do they go about maximizing their potential between the ages of 18 and 28 versus what are they doing when they get to be 38 years old? And you still can't dismiss
you're absolutely right.
As a result of that, and I think there's a danger in doing that as well. And Cappy, you and I really need to start our own show called Stale and Fat, and we need like 40-plus-year-old women, and we need to get we need the better example. We need the middle America, like flyover state version of Fresh and Fit, and we need to get like soccer moms in there, and like single mommies and divorcees, and we need to hold them accountable. I think that would be a brilliant show.
I'm not disagreeing with either, Roller. You're absolutely right. From our perspective, it's great. These examples are wonderful. Showing like the worst mommy thought ever will show you, because a lot of guys need the 2x4 of truth whacked over their head, so you kind of need an OnlyFans thought to show them about basic AWOL shit. I totally get that. I'm not even saying this like we should act better. I mean as like a practical thing for an audience member. Yeah, learn this stuff, and then forget it as fast as you can. Because then when you get in the real world, you're never going to find that 100% AWOL example of the worst woman ever. You're going to find a girl who's got like 80% good qualities and 20% shit you can work on. Yeah, and when you have that pool together, that's the stuff you can work with. And if a girl's into you, like you said, she'll start acting better. If you set your boundaries as, all right, no more Instagram thoughtery. And if she's into you, she's like, yeah, that's a fair deal. And she probably wouldn't want to be a thought anyway. If she's into you, she'll stop, advertising herself out there for other people. And if she starts advertising again, you realize, okay, this ain't the one. She's not feeling it. This is one of her factors in it. I agree. So we should be showing all the thought shit. But yeah, from an audience perspective, if you hyper focus on it, you're missing the examples. I guess I could word that better. You are right. But I do like how you put it that way.
Either ends of that spectrum end up becoming unhealthy, and that's how you get like guys who are these black pill doomers who go, they're all like those girls on Fresh and Fit. I'm doomed. I'm gonna hang myself.
And then you get
that's the first indicator that they're not.
But then on the opposite side, on the opposite extreme, you get like trad dads and power dads and the sun hat goddesses who are like, oh, we're all just. We're going to go to church on Sunday and then hit Denny's Perkins right after church.
I'm perfectly happy calling all of the people retards. I'm totally with you on that. But yeah, just like use your head is the key, right? Right. Rolo gave you 100 examples of the worst of it and some of the things of the best of it. Use your head, apply these tools, and fucking figure it out. Well, that's your job, guys.
to answer Cappy's question real quick here is I think that they realize this. I think they eventually do, but we're in a gynocentric feminine primary social order right now that teaches women that they can have it all. And that social order is based on two things, the blank slate and social constructionism. So a woman can be just as good as a man. And what happens is over the course of generations, they become the man that they wanted to marry. and no other guy wants to have anything to do with them. And you're right, they lived a life that was pretty much, game over. Like, why even be alive if that's where you're at? And the same thing, of course, can be applied to guys who think that it's a hopeless condition and they're despondent and nihilistic. And I've done several episodes about that just over the last week and a half. But so the answer, the solution to all this lies somewhere in between. And I think that the first thing that we want a solution to, because I'm all about solutions these days, right? If you want a solution to that, you have to start where you tell women, look, here's the consequences. Here's the results. Here's what can happen to you if you decide that you want to make yourself into an alpha male. But this is where you're going to go. That's the choice that you're going to have to make. And we have systematically turned men into incompetent, unreliable, unloyal, either borderline abusers or fat dad, Homer Simpson, everybody loves Raymond, ridiculous human beings. And we've taught generations of women that they cannot rely on a man for security, so they must do it themselves. And we've given them every incentive, every advantage, every special dispensation that we could possibly do since 1970 up to where we're at right now. And now we're still in the experiment. And that's, I think, is your frustration, or that's the reason for the title of this entire, our theme for today, is we've gotten to the point right now where we can see the results of the experiment for the last almost 60 years now. And we're going, whoa, here's the results, but we still we want to be oblivious about it because we want women to think, women want to think that they are going to be able to run the world. And effectively they are right now.
Well, and that's the point that I wanted to ask, is sometimes one of the things is to admit when there is no solution, that it's futile. So at least you save your sanity. Mm-hmm. And you said the solution you proposed, which I'm not disagreeing with, but I wonder about its efficacy, is we got to tell these women that. Well, the whole reason, but one of the main reasons I'm here is think about where this impasse comes from. We are talking a negotiation between two parties. I'm not even talking transactional. It's whether we want to invest time and that counterparty wants to invest time. I think women now, most, not all, but most of them are at the stage where they are not even aware there's a counterparty.
Right.
They're not even considering, and Ryan hit a very first sentence out of here. This is the epitome of solipsism, where women, I've never gone into any kind of business negotiation, whether it's business, a job interview, something, where I didn't consider that, well, there's another person sitting across the table from me and they have their own aims and goals and wants and desires. A high percentage, especially the younger gals, are unaware that men have a list of demands, genetic hardwired demands that are not negotiable. And they're right, Paul. They're offended by, you're disgusting. You only want one thing. Well, go take it up with God or nature, because that's how we're wired. This is a non-negotiable thing. You better bring physical beauty to the table as a beginner, and that's just to date. Right. And I'm amazed as a logician, not just an accountant, but a logician, where you have two people. And girls are like insulted as Paul. They're appalled that men just want sex. And it's like, what did you think this was about? Because again, the alternative is me and Ryan Stone might as well get married. If there's not going to be any sex, like, Ryan's a cool guy. He's got some cool dogs. He's got a cool shirt. Great merch, by the way. Great merch over at Ryan Stone's store. Yeah, him and I should shack up because there ain't no sex. And I just sit there and I'm very dark. I'm amazed. It's very entertaining to me to watch most Western women try to engage men without sex.
Right. Let me throw something in here real quick, because I've talked about this before. Is when we talk about like the laundry list of prerequisites that a woman I wrote the whole second book is about that, like what women, what you can expect from women at various phases of maturity and the timeline and all that. I also talk about it's actually Royce who came up with this, 436 bullet point checklist of all the things that women want in a guy. And you can see this on any dating profile, even Tinder profiles. Like, this is my list of demands, right? This is negotiating terms for me to actually, spread my legs for you kind of of thing. And so there's far more standards, and women are allowed to have are allowed and expected to be very discerning and very choosy and very picky and very sexually selective, because we always say, well, you guys get to decide who breeds and who doesn't. And we've been saying this since the sexual revolution, once again. But we have this 436 bullet point checklist, and then you've got guys who have a 2 bullet point checklist, right? She's got to be hot and she's got to be available. That's pretty much all that is. And you know what? When women get to 33, 34, 35, then they say, you know what? You don't even get those. You can't have those either. You have to you have to want me for what I am. And again, how do they come to that? How do they demand that? How do they like rationalize the idea that men shouldn't be objectify women sexually, shouldn't want the hottie, shouldn't you're infantile if you're a 36-year-old guy and you want to get with a 26, 27-year-old girl, Paul, how is it that you have such your fragile ego and, you're threatened by a strong woman? How do you get those? You get those by women saying you don't get your biological imperatives. Those 2 checkpoints that you have on your very limited list, guys, you don't even get those, because we're all supposed to be playing by this game called social constructionism. We're all supposed to, it's all about what's on the inside. And you should want to fuck me because I'm a better person, because I have self-worth and self-confidence, and I'm better than those 23-year-olds that I used to be. And tried to make the most of it, but couldn't quite consolidate on it. And now I'm 33, 34, 35. But you know what, guys? You don't even get those 2 bullet point checklists that you have, because we're going to change the game. As I said, WNBA. We want to change the nature of the game to suit the player rather than become a better player and accept the true nature of men and women as well. And so what happens is women who get locked into that ideal, because we have social conventions at every phase of maturity for women to make them believe that their sexual market value and their agency is evergreen. That doesn't matter if you're 30 or 50 or 70 years old. We're still putting on makeup. We're still getting boob jobs. We're still you look at what is it? What's her name? God damn it! Oh, what's the girl who used to be married to Rick Ocasek from the Cars?
What? Holy 80s. What?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us more, Grandpa.
Yeah, she's been putting out, she used to be a centerfold. Now Rick Ocasek's dead, and she's actually out there on Instagram showing her body off. She's like 56.
Oh, is that the Pavlona whatever chick?
Yeah. Paulina Pavlova or something like that. I can't remember. But anyways, so that's a good example. 56 years old, she still wants that attention, that sexual agency that she was married to Rick Ocasek, and she traded that in for a lifestyle, and now she doesn't want that anymore. Now she wants to be go back to her Playboy spread when she was in the 80s, right? It's the idea that women can, at any age, can be desirable, at any weight can be desirable. That's how you get body fat acceptance. That's how you get age, appropriateness for Keanu Reeves and his girlfriend that looks like his mom. Like that's acceptable, and we praise that because men don't get those 2 bullet points once they get to that certain age. Everything goes in favor of the woman's selectivity all the way till she's 90, until she drops dead. She's supposed to have that sexual selectivity. And then of course that runs headlong into reality, because men don't want that. They want the woman who's 23 years old, and they want her to be available and hot and ready to go. And when you look at the stats and you look at the data and you look at it's why women hate the red pill, is because it makes them aware of the fact that they're trying to change the game that ain't going to change for them.
Right.
Do we have anybody's opinion? Do we have any moral obligation? I know it's going to fall on deaf ears. I know it's a moot and academic one. I'm just talking from a philosophical principle perspective. But do we have any obligation to try and warn women about this, like younger gal? I know, like if you have a daughter, you should probably introduce this. What's that?
I do it. I do it. For those that'll listen, and you know what? It's interesting when you're being realist, but you're not being, completely, I don't know, insulting or whatever about it. Not that any of us are trying to do that here or anything like that, but you got some other channels and other content creators who are. It's interesting who will listen. It may only be a small percentage. Maybe it's less than 2% of the population. But so what? I got less than maybe 1 or 2% of the population of men that are willing to better themselves and listen to anything that we would tell them. So there is a small percentage of women. I've had, to my surprise, complete surprise, I've had 19 and 20-year-old girls in my sessions, my consultation and coaching sessions. Like, I'm like, what? Okay, let's do this. And I end up telling them things that their dad should have told them, basically. You know what I mean? And how to embrace the power that they do have with their femininity, and how to navigate the net sexual marketplace in a way where they don't destroy their long-term possibilities. Don't do what all your dumb friends are doing, kind of stuff, right? And it's been rewarding. And some of these, as far as I can tell or know, because I don't see them years or 2 years later after a few sessions, they were very happy with that advice, and had, before they, broke contact with me, more or less, we're getting some good success, what I would consider success if I had a daughter, And I've also had women who are in their 40s and even 50s that are coming to you, Cappy, with the same problems. And when I give them the advice of basically embracing their femininity and being pleasant and abandoning all of that bull crap, strong, independent crap, and instead actually think about what you could do for the express purpose of a man, and then find a guy that you can trust with that submission, they start getting better results. They start thinking about how they look.
Wait, hold on, Paul. Hang on.
I mean?
I don't mean to interrupt. Hang on. I'm glad I'm sitting down. Are you saying when women treat men kindly and deliver what they want, they get better results? Oh, that's...
I know it's a no-brainer, but to them it really isn't. Because they're doubling down on basically trying to be powerful masculine men. And then they're not getting results in the marketplace, and they're discouraged and usually mad at guys about that. But by the time they get into a consult with me, they're kind of abandoned the I'm mad at guys thing, and they're open for a discussion. Because, all right, I'm paying some money to be here. I know what I'm doing is wrong, but I can't figure it out what's going on. And when they abandon that old strategy, that's the thing. Like, how can is a woman past the wall hopeless? No, because there's so many crappy women.
There's plenty of guys out there too. Yeah.
And there's plenty of dudes out there who would pick up a 43, 44-year-old woman that looks decent and treats them well. Like, holy crap. You know what I mean? There's plenty of dudes that she would be attracted to that would pick her up, and they could have something good, in terms of a long-term relationship or whatever. And so it's really a simple thing, but they need to actually have to learn that stuff and habituate new behaviors, because their habits are terrible.
Like, being nice.
No, they're not nice, kind, pleasant, and welcoming.
No, they're not.
To a guy by habit. And that's what they have to do. They're not grateful, you know what I mean, for what a guy might do.
For even bringing that up, women will say, you just want a mommy. You just want a mother. Why can't you just be, you'd like, what is it? What's wrong? Did mommy not love you enough? That's
because they're going to shame their way out of doing what they're supposed to be doing. That would make them successful.
That's the social convention, because they have no real answer to that. So they've got to make an emotional appeal about that. It's like, who hurt you is becomes the answer to that. But it's like the idea that women have been sold this bill of goods. They are living out this bill of goods. And then I was going to say, just to tag something on at the end of this, is to tell women that they've been living their lives the wrong way is really, that's a harsh, a cold bucket of truth, poured all over their heads, right? And
for anybody, but then especially for women.
Well, I had that. I really wish the video would have came out better. But when I was in Miami with Robert Kiyosaki, back in June, I was at a kind of a mixer thing, and I was there with two different women. One was the therapist, like this physical therapist, who was a very attractive woman. She's like 33 some odd years old. She's married. She's getting wifed up by this guy who is like a surgeon, or he's he's a doctor of some kind, leaving his wife. He has two kids, so he can get with this hottie. Okay. So there's that trophy wife fear involved in all of that. But this is a woman who's been sort of like dating this guy and sort of working this guy, playing the long game with him. And now it's finally hitting pay dirt, and she's still attractive. She still looks good. She's still making money, and people, and in any other context, people will call her a gold digger. I'm talking to her. And then on the same hand, I'm talking to one of his assistants, who is one of these girls who has been in empowered, has done the right thing that she's been told is the right thing, which is go to school, get your degree, get into corporate America or work with Kiyosaki, however, you'll get a good job as a result of that, and build yourself up, become a professional woman, become an alpha female, and then the benefits will flow after that, because you're just as good as any guy is. Because we've built this generation of women up on the idea that gender is a social construct and women can be anything men are, and we're just blank slate equals, and it's just the plumbing is different but everything else is the same. And so that woman, I'm having a different conversation with her than I would with the girl who's the gold digger. So I'm looking at the girl and I'm saying, look, you're not living your life right, because what you have done or who you've become as a person, it's not even just like professional and career decisions. It's personality wise as well. Who you are as a person, what you take pride in, what your ego is invested in as a woman who's made something of herself, let's just say, or at least believes she's made something of herself, to tell her you didn't live your life right, to tell her you need to dumb yourself down, because that's what it sounds like to her, to tell her that she needs to be more feminine, she needs to be more, accommodating, she needs to be more agreeable, she needs to be whatever those feminine traits are that we think is value added, that grates against her personality, because she's ego invested in the idea that to be a successful, positive, high value woman is to be exactly who she is. So to hear anything to the contrary sounds like God is dead, right? It sounds like you haven't been, your religion is false. You raised you raised your kids the wrong way. That's really, really offensive for women. And then the same thing would apply to the girl who's the gold digger. If I said, yeah, you're in the position that you're in and you have all this power and everything else, but you're still following your imperative to get with the high value rich guy. And it doesn't matter if you've got to break up his family to get to it. And if I go and I say something like that, then I'm an asshole too. I'm an asshole if I tell the girl that she's
welcome to my life. Okay.
Telling the truth means you're an asshole.
And the reason why I'm an asshole is because we live in a system, in a social order that says, if you bring this up, if you talk about this in public, if you in any way make anyone aware of the bullshit, game that's going on, the new rules going on, you need to be silenced. You need to be canceled. You're an asshole. You're a misogynist. Who hurt you? Mommy didn't love you. Whatever. There's a barrage of social conventions that limit you and try to silence you from actually saying those things. And the only reason I'm doing what I'm doing right now is because I can get away with that. That's what my
sneaky little bastard you
right now. Yeah. And
Rollo,
I can say those things, but very few people can, like Jeff Miller, Steven Pinker. They have this data, the same data set that I have. They just can't say you didn't live your life right because you've turned yourself into an alpha female and you dumb yourself down if you want to get with the guys that you want to get with. Or you've got these like Morgan Stanley, for example, the rise of the she economy. Essentially, the message of that, I was going to tell you this, Cappy, the message of that Morgan Stanley Rise of the She Economy blog thing is that women need to adjust their standards. They need to say, you know what? You have become such a success. So many women have gone to college. So many women have become professionals that they can't find economically attractive men, and they can't find their quote unquote equals. So what's the solution? You've either got to find some guy who's a garbage man that you want to bang. You got to lower your standards, ladies, after telling generations of women never to settle for less than whatever the best is. And so, but again, it's that social constructionism that is being used against women now instead of being used against men. So you say, well, you've got to be attracted to the garbage man. You got to be attracted to the construction worker. You got to be attracted to the guy who is not you're certainly you're not economically equal.
You mean Paul?
Yeah. It's certainly not your economic equal, but also your educational equal. Also, all that anything else. And again,
Paul.
That goes against women's innate biological evolutionary wiring, because they want a man that they can look up to. They want a man they can admire. They want a man who has social proof. They want a man who is above them, because that is a statement on their own ego. Now society is saying, well, we are all based on social constructionism. So ladies, you're going to have to find this guy who is never going to be your equal, who is never going to make more money than you, who's never going to be more educated than you. You've got to find him attractive and let him wife you up, or you got to husband him up, is what they're saying. And we're great against that right now, because we've told them never to settle for anything less.
Well, Ryan, you want to say something, but I do have a question for Rollo, then a question for the panel. Let's wrap it up because I got to pee, and I'm sure everybody else has something to do. Go ahead, Ryan.
Empty.
I got a quick question to clarify. Were you saying, like, should we help women? Will we help women? Or can we help women? Because my answer's going to change.
It was purely a theoretical should. And
theoretical should.
I know we can't. It's kind of like you throw it out there, and like Paul said, 2% will take and listen. I'm doing asshole consulting. I wish we had Rich here. I kind of missed the hairy shirtless Canadian oaf. But he, do the work. What percent do the work? So I understand it's very academic, but no, I don't think we can help women.
Well, no, that's fine. The should. Deal with the should. So there's a very basic red-pilled concept. Fundamental. Covert contracts. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, a covert contract is a deal that you make with somebody without letting them know. If I do X, she will do Y, appreciate me for it, and will live a problem-free life. It is the number one thing that a guy learns after, red-pilled, whatever you want to call it. Once he's red-pilled himself, removing covert contracts from his life is the number one way to improve his life in a substantial way. Whether you're married, whether you're single. So that's why I was addressing the should one. Now, when Paul's talking about fixing women, that's great. It's consulting. He's making money. As a consultant, that makes sense. You're not paying me to fix you. You're paying me to give you the tools to fix yourself. So if she does it, or if she doesn't do it, no hair off of his back. That's fine. He's running a business. He's not saving the West. When you do it as a should, you're setting up this giant covert contract. And what happens? Women, absolutely wonderful about nuking that shit, because by you saying, I can fix you, even if she wants to be fixed, you're putting the onus on her for its success and failure. And women do not like responsibility. It ties back to that old, hunter-gatherer shit. Women are collective units. Shedding responsibility amongst the tribe is the best way to not get kicked out of the tribe. Because for a girl, getting socially ostracized is the equivalent of a guy getting stabbed. They don't want it. It's like a fight or flight thing. So yeah, you cannot do it, because by doing it, you're putting the onus on her to succeed or fail. She will fuck that up and blame you for it. You will get resentful, and this is how you end up with that existential nihilism. You just can't help these people. Every time I try to help the women, she does something else and fucks me over. So no, you can't. Now, Rollo has a daughter, Yeah, if she has these things, he wants her to raise her right, absolutely do that. You can say it's because that's your masculine responsibility, or you could say, maybe it's because it's my daughter and I fucking love her and I want her to be raised well, right? That's fine, but it's very hard to earn the title of being Rollo's daughter. Yeah, it takes 9 months to figure out how to be one of those people, and most of us are never going to be that. But that's the point. If it's a wife, if it's a girl that's shown you awesome behavior over a long period of time, absolutely save her. You're perfectly able to. If it's a daughter, dude, you're like my life, my genes, whatever. I love you like to death. Of course, spend the time doing that. But to anybody else, setting it, anything that you think of that should is only going to lead to resentment, bitterness, and ends up making you look like the asshole, because no good deed goes unpunished.
You are aware I run a company called Asshole Consulting and daily tell people.
Yeah. Well, but that's just it. The same way you approach guys with your asshole consulting mantra, it's the same way you got to approach women. And I know we're not equal, but yeah, by treating them equal, you at least Cappy is valuable to Cappy. And if other people can appreciate that value, you're not going to waste the mental space on getting worked up over it.
It's personal responsibility whether they want to admit or take it or not, And that's
we
really
could say, well, girls aren't as tough and independent as they think. Well, fuck, that boat sailed 20 years ago, man. Blame Dad. He's the one that didn't fight for all this shit.
I do not want to believe that.
Is this ideal? Is this the best way of doing it? No, but you play with the hand you've been dealt. You don't play with the hand you want.
One final question for Rolly. You were talking about it before. How much, and this is, again, I'm trying to figure out where this ship is going to sail. And these gals, we tell them when they're 40 or 30, and we're academically talking in a should capacity. How much of it is that these women have invested pretty much their entire lives? They've invested and wasted all their youth and fertility on a particular lifestyle or choice or ideology or whatever. And now it's just sunk cost fallacy that they have to double down and they must continue to believe in this, and that they have gone beyond the event horizon of salvation or reasoning or even getting to salvage the remaining 30, 40, 50 years of their life. I know I kind of probably already know the answer, but going down that line, how much does the sunk cost fallacy play a role in anchoring women to these choices?
I think on some level of consciousness, women realize that. That's how you get, like, I know there are precious few of them, but that's how you get a few of the women on Fresh and Fit when they become aware that they are average at best, right? When you tell them that, what you have done is not making you sort of like the peak of, sexual market value. And now you're going to have to deal with those consequences. I wrote an essay on this about it was actually entitled an essay for women. And I was trying to say, look, this is what you're having to deal with right now. And this is why you are where you are. And yes, so there's this denialism. There's this kind of tunnel vision, like that women don't want to hear it because, again, they're ego invested, not just in the economic side of it or the personal, professional side of it, but because it's become a part of who they are. Part of their personality. As I said, ego investments are beliefs that we are so integral to who we are as people. If somebody attacks that belief, it's not an attack on the belief, it's an attack on the person. And that's, you've got at least 4 generations of women that if you say, look, your value, your sexual market value as a woman at 33 is not what it was at 23. Even the
concept of sexual market value
is offensive to them because they have been taught since the day they were 5 years old by the gynocentric social order that they can do it all. They can have it all. It doesn't matter if you who would save yourself for marriage, right? Why is it that the average age of marriage is 29 for men and 28 for women? Well, why is it the first birth is right around 27 for women? Why you can look statistically and show all this stuff in empirical objective data, right? And here it is. How do you interpret this data, ladies? You can put that in front of their face, and the first thing they'll say is, well, that's not me. Not all women are like that. Now we're going to subjectivize everything. It's like, everyone is special. Everyone is it's the lie of individuation, right? Women, not all women are like that, basically, is what it boils down to. And then second of all is they don't want to hear it. And then as a result of that, you get rationalizations, or you get them focusing in on things like, say, Keanu Reeves getting with his quote unquote age appropriate, girlfriend or whatever, who looks like his mom. And so they'll focus on that, or they'll focus on Ashton Kutcher and Demi Moore, right? They'll focus on these little, outliers and say, oh, there's hope. It can happen for me. Meanwhile, 40% of women in the United States are obese. 75% of the entire population is at least overweight right now. And we don't focus in on those things because those things are things that they have been told, and men have sort of picked up by association, that those things shouldn't be important. If a woman is fat, then you should still want to bang her. She should still be attractive to you. If the woman is, because it's not, you should want to have sex with her and form a relationship and fall in love with her because of who she is, not the way that she looks. Meanwhile, women ruthlessly, Darwinistically select men for the way that they look. They have higher standards for male, idealized male beauty than women, than men will ever have for women. We can show that statistically now. We have all the data for it. And still it's, well, it can happen for me. Look at Ashton Kutcher. It can still happen for me. Look at Keanu Reeves. And there's this sort of, this hope after hope that's what they can become. Meanwhile, they get older and older, and their sexual market value, their real agency with men becomes more perishable and decays, while at the same time we live in a society that says, don't worry, girl, it's not your fault, it's men's fault for not going along with the game and the system that we have built, which is social constructionism and the blank slate against evolutionary imperatives.
It's so sad and tragic because we're looking, and ultimately the entirety of the human race, both in the future in terms of reproduction, depends on this, but also the happiness of the current generations that are alive. And man, the boomers are going to be the first generation
family formation
formation is taking a hit, right? Yeah.
You want to know why, people say, well, we're going down a dark path. It's degeneracy, this, and, fertility rates are below replacement levels, and, forming a family, marriage is in the shitter. We've got to reimagine or reform marriage, in some way reform marriage, at least legalistically for sure. But even just fundamentally thinking differently about, the opposite sex, or even embracing the idea that maybe there are only 2 freaking genders. Maybe we should go back to that binary thing, because that seemed to work pretty well, because what we're we're doing right now is pretty fucked up. Like going back to that and reconsidering that it's a really tough prospect. But when we look at family creation, that's really what we're all involved in here. At some point, we're talking about reproduction, not ultimately. The proximate cause is, how do I get that bitch in the club? How do I get her? How do I tap that ass? That's the proximate cause. The ultimate cause is, how do I reproduce with her? How do I have babies? How do I form a family? And that is, again, the key to building a tribe, building a nation, building a religion, name the social, the larger meta social structure. It's all dependent on solving reproductive problems and family formation. And what does that look like? How does that influence values? How does that influence ideology? All of that is dependent on one fucking thing. And it's how do men and women get together? How do they form families? How do they raise children? And so when guys say, oh, you guys, you red pill guys, you're just dating coaches and pickup artists, and you guys just, it's all about the dick, No, it's not. It's way fucking bigger than that. So much bigger than that. And people they just ignore it. And we go back to, I don't know, ratchet hose on Fresh and Fit.
Because they keep running you up the flagpole, Rollo. God damn it.
Throwing rocks at me too.
I will say this about us and the red pill and all that. It is the most important philosophical discussion being had in the world right now. And that is not grandiosity or narcissism. It is because if we don't solve this, and we, I mean, communally, I'm actually going to abdicate responsibility for men here. But it is so absurd on the face of it that you think about this ideology. We don't need the other half of society. That'd be okay if we're all asexual or hermaphroditic type of species, and you could, but the human race will end with this feminist ideology. In short, to summarize it, and I just find that, and then that's the ultimate practical existential philosophy facing humanity, and especially the balls now in women's courts. But I just find it absolutely horrible and tragic that now we're coming up, I'd say on the fourth generation is coming online now. They haven't hit puberty yet, but certainly we've wasted 3 generations of young people's lives making men and women antagonistic towards each other and not being able to enjoy each other. And it's sad and it's tragic, but I'm kind of glad I'm here for these interesting times. But I can't, if I had a heart, I might have a tear well up a little bit, but I don't have one, so I can laugh in a sadistic manner.
For those of us who have no soul left.
It's just highly entertaining, great movie. I recommend everyone go to the theaters and see it.
Let me throw one real quick, because the people in the chat have been saying this, like, why do you care? Like, who cares? This is just, what is it? Enjoy the decline. Who cares? Who cares? Yeah. Who cares? You know what? You know when you'll care. Why is this such a big deal to you? Right? Well, when you see drag queen Bible study, which I have just got tweeted, this week, when you see drag queen story hour in your public libraries, that's why I care. That right there you could trace that all the way back down to everything that we've been talking about for the last 20 years in the red pill.
Mm-hmm. All right. Final question for the panel. What can young men or men aspiring to date women do about facing this hurdle of women's, I would say, solipsistic, insular value system? Ryan, go.
Make your boundaries, have a strong set of values, don't put up with bullshit, and run through the amount of numbers. Like, I don't care if what you're looking for is 1 in 1,000. Well, then you got 999 notches to go. Get on it. Nothing else to do. What else are you going to do? Jerk off in your living room? Cool. And then to end off like this, the game never ends. Learn to have fun with it. In the same way that working out sucks, you feel sore, some days you don't want to go, but you go there and you come back looking swole. It's the same thing with dating. Yes, girls are emotional. They cry. They run their mouth and they say stupid shit and they expect you to put up with it. Just don't. And you're at the point now, between those two things there, you're going to find that you're going to be on a podcast somewhere talking with some chicks drinking White Claws in their OnlyFans account, and you're going to laugh and you're going to have fun because she only gets into your life insofar as you let her. So she can thought around all she wants. Just laugh it off. Maybe even sleep with her. You're not going to wife her up, so it doesn't bother you. You'll find what do they say? The girl at the truck stop? The one at the truck stop that's 80% of what you want, and she's willing to work with you on the next 20%. That's great. And you'll know that quality. You'll know she's like, just about where you want because you've had the numbers to tell the difference. And don't worry about what everybody else is doing. There's 8 billion people. Short of a meteor, even if the world dies off, there's going to be at least 1 billion of us left. if we all get wiped out. So society will be fine. Just focus on you. Focus on you. Get yours. And I don't got anything to say about drag queen story hour at this point. I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to minimize it, Rolo. All I'm saying is everybody's shown that same photo of drag queen story hour for the last 10 years. I'm like, can we not find a second example?
Yeah.
And I'll just leave it there.
Now it's turned into drag queen Bible study at like various churches.
Oh. Well, it serves them right for going to fucking church at this point. What can I tell you?
When you look at like how we look at like, say, like transgender athletes, the only reason we have this conversation is because on some level we agree that social constructionism forms the basis of gender. Right. Yeah. That's the only the blank slate. The reason why there's a male wrestler, like, crushing your little girl in female wrestling.
Has anybody here on the panel ever watched that wrestling match? Yeah. Like, I've never watched it.
Yeah, but
you know what I mean? It's like, it's not in my world. I don't really watch wrestling. So like, I get the whole problem, and you're absolutely right. Rolo, for me, it's just like,
it could be running. It could be weightlifting.
Yeah.
It could be Zuby breaking the deadlift champion.
Dude, that's the best solution to this ever, by the way.
Deadlifting, and then promptly, realigning himself to be male again, just to prove a point.
Yeah, never before have we made it to a point where men can be championship athletes just by changing their gender. I'd say it's almost a good thing.
We're so good. We're better women.
All as a result of social constructionism. All as a result of like the warrior princess. Oh, women can kick guys' ass, no problem. No,
you know what? Yeah, like you said,
reality.
If the system is broken, abuse the fuck out of it so they'll fix it. It's an old ludology thing. That's like gaming. It's a gaming term. But if there's a problem with the system, drive a truck through that error. Otherwise, nobody's going to fix it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, every guy should be a championship powerlifter. Once girls are edged out of the entire female weightlifting industry, mayy somebody will do something
all male
about
sports from there.
Yeah.
Did you guys see Queen Latifah as the equalizer?
There's a guy on YouTube, and I don't know what his real name is, but the YouTube channel is called Poor Man's Podcast or something like that, and he's pretty like a mid-level sort of Black Manosphere blogger, vlogger, whatever. And so most of his videos are right around, I don't know, I think for a good video it might be 100,000 views or something like that, but like he's right around the 50s to 60s level when it comes to like his views. He has this one video where he compiled all of these sporting events that show women getting outdone by men. Like whether it's a fight or it's like, oh, my little girl's playing football finally on the high school team, and it's like she just gets plowed by like a linebacker just runs right into her. And it's all of these examples of how men are just physically like superior, but physically more dominant than, because sometimes it's running, like it might be a relay race or something as well. So it's not like violent. All of it is violent. That video, 5.4 million views. That's what guys want. That's what they want to see. They want to see that 5.4 million people watched that, but 60,000 people watched his most recent video. I think that is very telling. So as far as my concern is, like, to answer your question, Cappy, is I think, first of all, guys need to stop sedating yourself. Stop sedating yourself. If you want to be a better player of the game, if you decide that you want to be a better player of the game, then you need to stop sedating yourself. That's number one, whether that's porn, whether that's alcohol, whether that's OxyContin, I don't know, whatever your escape is, you need to stop sedating yourself so that your escape life isn't more preferable than your shitty real life. Okay, so make your shitty real life something that you actually want to live. That's number one. Number two is this: would you rather be happy or would you rather be right, Ryan? You're going to have to answer that question at some point. If you'd rather be happy, cancel your internet subscription right now. Like, cancel your IP, get offline, and get off your cell phone right now, or just use it for audio calls or whatever, because that's the only way you're not going to want to be right. You're going to have to answer that question at some point. If that's the case, and you're like, okay, I know the game, I know the data, everything that we've talked about on this show up to this point has been based on empirical data, objective rationality right now. What are you going to do with that? How are you going to leverage that to its best effect? If you want to be in the game in the first place, if you say, hey, I want to be right and I'd like to be happy, well, great. Then you can also use that new data to help you adapt to the game that you're already in right now. You don't get to exit the game. You don't get to say, oh, I give up. It's the only winning move is not to play. Okay, if that's the case, you want to be happy. So turn this off right now and go back to your whatever your escape is or whatever it is that's making you happy at this stage, right? Yeah, exactly. So if that's not the case, and you want to live you want to adapt to the game, whatever that game happens to be, if you want to adapt to it, you've got to use the tools to leverage that so that you say, okay, these are the rules. This is the sport I'm playing. How can I be a better player at it, instead of trying or complaining about the game, or saying we should change the game, or my opponents should change their nature of their playing abilities so that they can accommodate me. That's not going to happen for any guy, because you have a burden of performance. Okay. So my advice to any guy who wants to sort of, school women or wants to live a better life, first of all, you're going to have to use those tools to your best effect and play to your own strengths. If you're not doing that, learn how you can do that, because at some point, in some way, whether you think you are or not, you're adapting to this game as it is right now anyways. So you might as well use it to its best effect and use this information for your betterment.
Cool. Paul.
Well, I'll sum it up with game is everything. This is why you got to learn game. Okay. Doesn't matter what your economic level is, your SMV level. Of course, you want to improve those things. Of course, you want to get your mind right. Of course, you want to, get on your purpose and do all that stuff. I mean, of course, but you need game, because sexual marketplace will chew you up and spit you out with the way some of these women are. I've seen it happen time and time again with guys who are 7-figure earners, mid $500,000 a year range earners, guys with high SMV. They get caught up with some girl. Their game isn't good. They egotistically thought it was, because they had everything else going for them, and they lost, and they found themselves unhappy and in situations that they didn't want to be in. You can have great relationships with women in your life. I mean, you really can. With all this stuff that's going on, there's, we're focusing on a lot of the bad that's out there because there's more of it probably than good, but there's still a lot of good stuff out there. You can have great relationships, but you have to know how to navigate it. You have to have game. You have to have red pill awareness. You have to have skills with women, seduction skills, game skills, all those things. And that's why a lot of us teach those skills, because it is really good. Like, there's so many guys, they're having a great time out there in the sexual marketplace, and not just in a hollow narcissistic sense, like, oh, I got laid this many times this week or whatever. But I mean, really fulfilling, happy lives out there. But you have to know how to game that stuff. You have to know how to navigate it. And that's what it is. And so learn that stuff like it's a skill set. Guys that'll listen to you, help them out, and have a good life, man. It's okay. Because, it's easy.
Good. All right, my advice, the standard, become the best version of yourself. But now I'm throwing the ball into the women's court. I know you guys are funny. I think this is funny that they're going to hit it back. No, gals, you pull your weight in this society now. You start being nice. You start delivering what we want, because that's where the change is going to come from. You can't have half the population being this delusional that you have value unto yourself, and that that the other parties are not human and they're just robots, and that you're going to believe your feminist teachers or the media or Oprah on how to get guys. No, you either deliver what men want, or you leave the market. That's it. This ball's in women's court. I'm sick and tired of, okay, fine. Here's your responsibility. There you go. So men, do your best. That's it. Then forgive yourself and walk away. Let's go through everybody's stuff. Ryan, what do you got?
Merch is live, store.ryanstone.com, and I'll give you guys a secret. For the Digital Ryan channel, that's the second channel I got, Digital Ryan, there is a subscribership thing on there. The perk that I give for the guys at any one of the tiers is that you basically are buying the merch at cost. So if you're interested in it, for $3 a month, you can save like $20 on the shirt or something like that, which is awesome. So yeah, Don't Eat Paint, T-Rex. So far, a lot of guys are starting to get their stuff in. It's awesome. They got it just before Christmas. So Merry Christmas to everybody. Remember, don't eat paint. And for the red pill, it's good for men, bad for education. Enjoy yourselves. And beyond that, yeah.
I know where that's from.
Oh, yeah. Cyberpunk, man. High tech, low life.
My one and only favorite anime movie of all time.
Damn straight.
Rolo, what do you got? You got books or anything? Are you an author?
I am an author of 4 books. Yeah, not that anybody in my most recent interviews would. By the way, I didn't announce this when I first came in. Is I did 2 hours with Michaela Peterson on Thursday, and that's going to be a really interesting show to see what comes out and what doesn't, because it was pre-recorded. It's on Zoom. I was pretty much on my game the whole time. Really, all she wanted was to have me on there so she could just sort of clear the air about the episode that I did about Kill to Party, which included her for like maybe 20 or 30 minutes in that almost 4 hour episode. But she really wanted to come on and like sort of speak her piece, because I think people were just like linking her to it and everything. But hopefully, it'll be valuable enough for people, and she'll actually let, the edits won't end up on the cutting room floor. But that's should be coming up, I would presume, next week. She said she was going to let me know if it comes out at all. We'll see. But I did talk to her, and I did 2 hours with her on Thursday. So I'll let you guys know when that's available. I will be on tomorrow, my regular show, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. I think I'm finally going to get around to the David Buss show, because it's sort of pertinent to what I want to talk about as far as why is it that guys like David Buss sort of frustrate me? And so I'm going to dig into sort of the social narrative that informs or corrupts the real empirical data, and really the understanding real intersectional dynamics.
That'll be cool. Which David Buss show are we talking about?
It's there's actually 2 of them, and there's been, because he has a book out right now which I just read. I finished up, and it was just absolutely feminist apologetics. Which was men behaving badly, and it really was just sort of like throwing a bone to sort of the gynocentric social order. But it's coming from David Buss, who is an internationally very well-known evolutionary psychologist. Actually, he was a teacher of God Sod, was a student of his.
Oh, and so many people were. Wasn't Marty Hazelton also?
Marty Hazelton also was, and I'm going to get into those aspects as well. Cool. So I think I'm going to pick that apart a little bit and make it relevant to sort of red pill conversations, let's just say. I was on You Are Here about a week and a half ago, and if you haven't seen the Jack Murphy that blow up,
holy shit! What the hell?
I want to state for the record, it was not me, Jack. I was out putting up Christmas lights when all that shit was happening. That was not me in the chat. So
I am stealing that heartfelt meme, man. I'm stealing it. That was like beautiful.
I don't even know who Jack Murphy is, but I'm like, whoa! I don't want him near anywhere.
I only know him for the reason he got mad. That's the only reason why I know that guy.
Did you see that? Did you see that, Cappy? Did you see the blow up?
Yeah, I did, because I think you had it on your Mini-Me channel or whatever the hell, or you sent it out.
I tweeted it out, and I think somebody commented on Rollo's with it later. Yeah.
Whoa, my God! Like, dude.
Here, give me one. So can you share this? I'll share it.
No, don't make me leave. No, I want to be a boomer. Just let me be a boomer.
Just be Stick your head in the sand for this one for sure. Because man, it was unbelievable. And so I talked to Sydney right after this happened, and she was like, I don't understand because she had no idea that he'd written that article about like how he, she
clearly had no idea. She was
like, his girlfriend or whatever. And this was back in 2015, and no one is going to ever let him live that down. And he should fucking know that. It's been
Rollo, real quick. Who was it? Charlie and Sheila, Amy and Bobby. What's the name of this show?
It's You Are Here, and it's Sydney Watson and Elijah Schaefer. They're they're on the Blaze. That's the show that I was.
Oh, they're on the Blaze. Okay, that's their claim.
Yeah, that's like Glenn. That's like Glenn Beck's thing.
Yeah, Glenn Beck. Yeah,
studios there as well. I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, they got a whole dedicated facility for it. It's a whole sound stage, and just what I was like. There was like I when I was watching the playback of it, because I didn't catch it live, but I was watching the playback of it. And I was like, man, there's kind of some friction going on here, because I was on there and I was like getting along with these guys really, no problem, right? And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with this dude? The problem is Jack has been on Tim Pool for too long, where they protect him for too long, and so he thought he was going in there. He got comfortable, and suddenly she just read something, some tweet about, are you ever going to address the cuck article that you wrote back in like 2015? And he was like, fuck you.
Heartfelt, fuck you.
You should know better.
It's heartfelt.
And Sydney's like, I'm just reading the thing here. Like, she had no idea what was going on. You should know better, blah, blah, blah. And I was like,
that's an example of losing frame, ladies.
I have a question. I know I'm not Jack, not trying to slam. Who the fuck is he?
Jack Murphy is a lumber cuck. He was part of Anthony Johnson's thing for a while. Before that, he was doing he was in the Red Pill for a while. Friends with Cernovich. He knew Roosh, he knew me. He was at
he's from the olden days.
Yeah, he spoke at the last time I saw him was in 2019 for the quote unquote patriarchs.
And that's when he was pushing his Democrats deplorable, basically saying, I used to love Obama, but now I'm on Trump, and he was selling that demographic.
He was Red Pill, and then he pivoted away from Red Pill to politics, and now he wants to come back to Red Pill, and now he wants to go back to politics.
Dumber question, because this is a requirement that I have. Like, Ryan, I love how you highlight these Avatar Red Pill experts that got their freaking Gumroad course and they're freaking nobody. What did Jack Murphy do before he became the internet guy? Was he a plumber?
He started growing his beard out.
No. It was like some public sector shit, wasn't it?
Yeah, he worked for a government job, I think, and then that was actually his claim to fame. Is he got canceled for his opinions, and that's what sort of set him down this path. He's got the liminal order. He's got some apex masculinity.
But no, I know we all have that. But one of the things for authenticity, again, Ryan likes that word. Like Paul is a warrior. Congruent. Paul still is a warrior. Ryan, you were a sailor. Rollo, you worked booze industry. I was in banking. I finally looked up Anthony the Dream Johnson.
Oh, holy fuck! Are you out of the loop?
Well, I don't care about the drama. I don't give a shit.
I don't either, man.
But I looked at this. This guy ran since 18. It's like that's it. That's all he's done. It's like, get the fuck out of here. Like,
no, Jack is a middle-class guy with a middle-class job, and then, because of circumstance, he got put in a situation where he had to make the best of it, and that's where all the grift stuff came from.
Right. Well, and I'm okay if you make your money and all that, but it's like, dude, be something fucking else before you came here. Don't be like, I got an avatar. I bought a bunch of Twitter followers. I'm like,
he's
I
better
didn't
known
see
for
your
his
face.
beard now than anything else, honestly. But he got canceled by, and I wouldn't say Antifa, but like certainly a woke mob back in the day. Right before, he was a big Trump supporter. People would have called him like alt-right back then. Like I said, good friends with Cernovich, and then decided he wanted to be Red Pill again. And that's really, he's all about poly. And by the way, Ryan, I got to bring this up. I know he's really good friends with Jeffrey Miller and Diana Fleischman, and I've heard the rumors. I'm not going to say what they are because I can't confirm them. But you know what?
They're just big fans of evolutionary psychology.
Right, exactly. I remember I remember that interview too. So anyways, long story short, I'll be on tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern.
Okay. Cappy, there's a reason we say that the Rule Zero group is so small, because switched on guys like you are fucking rare.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rare, man.
You're a gem. John, you're using all this non-boomer language. Paul, go. What do you got?
All right. So if you're not subscribed to Apex Mindset on YouTube, please go over there, hit that subscribe button, check out free content. It does help me out quite a bit. And next thing is, all right, everyone's got New Year's resolutions or ideas. You want to get your seduction and frame skills to an expert level for 2022. I have a membership program that is rolling out. Don't have the link for it yet because I'm working on there's different tiers. So I'm working on some billing and stuff like that. So I'm working on some stuff, but very soon, probably Monday, I'll have the link. You'll schedule an appointment with my course administrator to interview, because I'm taking a small number of people and working with them very intensely over the next, course of the year to get your seduction stuff dialed in. So that means whether you don't have girls yet, or you're in an LTR, or you just broke up with somebody, it's for you. And so just go keep an eye out for that. I'll announce it on the channel, have it on the website, and all that stuff. And that's all I got.
All right, look.
The champ is here. The champ is here.
It's 10:48 on the West Coast. You just got
San Diego.
Oh, it's good. It's good.
What up, man? I'll be seeing you later today, brother.
Before noon, my man.
John, do you want me to send you a shirt, dude?
No, shirts are for fucking Republicans, right? Or Democrats, whatever. Which side are we on?
One of those. Some of them. Shirts are for boomers.
Where you crashing? You got somebody's audio studio in the background.
I'm staying with the fucking badass in my group. This guy has guns everywhere. We gonna see this shit?
Sweet. Well, don't show the gun. We'll get like.
You can't put your hands on it or kill the video. I learned that the hard way.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
A California gun. It has 3 bullets in it. Good for you guys.
It does. I just wanted to pop in. No, yeah, we're good. We have Hot Dude Con in like 6 hours. It starts. We have over 54 plus people here.
Nice.
Ready to link up, meet up. Paul from Apex Mindset is here. I was out last night with John Fitch.
Yeah, we can tell.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Real quick, before any more people drop out, I will be getting to the super chats. I'm doing a separate video catching up on super chats, so your money wasn't wasted. Go on there, John.
No, yeah, I just wanted to pop in and add to the situation, but it looks like we're all wrapped up here. But I just wanted to add a special LOL to Jack Murphy. Really love how his how his cuck article is still keeping up with him to this day.
Still relevant. It's a timeless piece.
Oh, it's fantastic! It's fantastic.
If he would just address it like a person, it'd be easier for him.
If Jack is watching this, I just want to send this to you and show that to you, buddy, because you may try to pretend you're like this new identity, this new dude, but at the end of the day, you still like dudes to fuck your girlfriend. So
I so have missed out on so much. I'm kind of glad I don't pay attention to this.
I'll send it to you, Cappy. I'll catch you.
All right.
From one's Xer to another, I'll catch you.
All right, thank you.
It is definitely brain rot, but yeah, I'll just say this. I went out last night in San Diego. I'll just give you guys an analysis, and you guys know I'm pretty strict on my SMV when it comes to women. And I'll say last night, man, San Diego, I will have to say, man, despite a Chick-fil-A chicken nugget meal being $10.39 here, including drink, the girls here are pretty hot, like not insufferable. Los Angeles, forget about it. Just fucking
San Diego and Orange County. There you go. Stay there.
Some decent things going on out here for sure.
That was my that was one of my liquor markets was OC and San Diego.
Yeah, it's still holding up 30 years later, Rolo. It's still good.
My girlfriend was getting a lot of play from the girls at the bar last night. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's a good time. I would have to say, like, this, despite from a Cappy standpoint, from an economical standpoint, this place is awful. The prices are ridiculously high.
That's why the girls are good looking there.
Yeah, prices are ridiculously high.
Someone else is paying for it.
But other than that, it's not bad. I mean, it's not Tokyo. It's certainly not Tokyo. But I'm not.
It's the best major city California's got. That's basically what San Diego is. It's the best major city California has. True.
Yeah, man.
All right, I gotta pee, guys. So I'll plug my shit real quick. If you have not gotten it, get the Book of Numbers, Analyzing the ROI in the Pursuit of Women. The cover was done by Rolo. This is the better Bachelor edition. If you want to get Joker's 9-page intro to it, but there's 2 editions up there. Make good thing. Bachelor Pad Economics. This is my flagship book. You should get that if you don't have your financial act together. Rolo, did you ever finish this book? Because it's a monster.
I think I kind of pick my way through it.
Okay, so that one is also.
You wrote that under a pseudonym too. That's not under you.
No, I wrote it, and then Vince Barrick, a different guy, bought the rights to it but that's not working. I mean, it's not bad either. He's a friend, but anyway, it's mostly me, yes, but there are other reasons I sold the rights. But it's a good book nonetheless. And then if you guys have questions, go to assholeconsulting.com where I'll yell and curse at you and tell you if you're a fat woman to lose the weight and start being nice to men. So, John, John, where's your Dude Con next? Is what, Dallas or something?
Dallas.
Hot Dude Con is sold out in San Diego. We actually, there was the website, we pulled the tickets, but people kept buying them. So actually tonight's event, it was, for, the Rona shit, like there should only be 50 people, but that's actually 55 or so people coming up tonight. On Dallas is still available. I should probably change this from Jack Murphy's name to.
Well, don't buy. I gotta go here, but plug your shit real quick, John. Just what do you got?
Yeah, go to hotdudecon.com to get your ticket to this upcoming. Here, I can change it right now. Hotdudecon.com. Go to Dallas to meet up with us this upcoming on the 21st. Right here, go to hotdudecon.com. get you tickets to meet up with us in Dallas or have the Inner Game Summit. There's about 4 or 5 tickets left for Dallas. And then Miami is on the 23rd. So Troy Francis will be there. I will be there. Myron Gaines from the Fresh and Fit podcast will be there. Sterling Cooper will be there. Donovan Sharp is potentially going to be there.
It sounds like such a good time. I just can't do Christmas like that.
And I will potentially be there as well. It won't be for the 23rd, but it'll be during that week.
So Roll will not be at Hot Dude Con. So if you want to
later on in the week,
you gotta come buy tickets to Hot Dude Con. Come through. It's $100. Come meet us. Just just to be on this internet cool guy game. Like, come actually meet somebody who's really doing this in the real life. And see guys who are actually walking the walk, talking the talk. I'll look into your eyes. I'll tell you what's going on. We're doing full analysis for everybody who shows up, full consultations for everybody who shows up with me and my team of experts. So go to hotdudecon.com, get your ticket. It's going to be fucking lit.
How's your lawsuit going, man? Tell me about it.
Which one?
What, the one that you did the video about, with what's his face?
I'll be back.
That kid in Brazil.
Oh, he's just a loser. A loser's a loser. So, That's the only. Guilty. Yeah, that's the only words that the idiot gets to have for me, bro. That guy can run around and talk about picking up girls and banging transvestites or whatever he's doing, but at the end of the day, I'm out here changing guys' lives. I'm taking guys from zero to making them literally 7-figure heroes in under 2 years' time. So we can play here, internet games. We can talk all this shit. Oh, MLD runs his Hot Dude Con, ha ha ha. But at the end of the day, like, I'm a millionaire. I'm making dudes in this group millionaires. I'm helping these guys with their fucking SMV. I'm helping these guys change their lives, fix their inner game. Like, I'm not an ivory tower coach. I don't sit up in my little holier than thou area and be like, oh, look, just fucking, hypergamy or whatever. Not saying that's Rollo's shit or whatever, but I'm thinking, like, I don't like, I
steal Rollo's shit
and then they take all my shit.
Deliver it.
Yeah, can't get away from it. Yep.
So I come up and I do what needs to be done in regards to delivering and getting guys real results in the real world. So if that's what you want, if you want to take a cold hard look at yourself in the mirror and realize, like, shit, there's some shit I got to get going, and this is how I'm going to figure it out. I'm the guy to help you do it. Paul can tell for you. Paul can vouch for me. Roland can vouch for me. All these guys can vouch for me.
All right.
So that's what we're doing.
Oh, there's Cappy. End us, Cappy. Kill us, Cappy. Kill it out.
All right, that's it. Thanks for tuning in. I will be doing an immediate follow-up video of this for all the people kind enough to do super chat donations. If you would, please subscribe to my channel because I'm getting closer and closer to 100,000. And that's about it. We'll see you guys later. Toodles.